Okay, good morning, everyone, and welcome to our July 16th, 2024 meeting. This is a hybrid meeting, so we do have people online as well as in person. Okay, we're getting an echo now.
Council chamber meeting.
Enter.
Council chamber.
Sorry. I'm getting a pin. Yours.
Sound. They try it.
Okay, that's better.
There we go.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, we're getting a bit of feedback here. So, okay, so I'm going to call the meeting to order and start off with a land acknowledgement. We respectfully acknowledge that the township of Havelock-Belmont-Methuen is located on the Treaty 20 Mississauga territory of the Mississauga and Chippewa nations, collectively known as Williams Treaties First Nations, which includes Curve Lake, Hiawatha, Alderville, Scugog Island, Rama, Beausoleil, and Georgina Island First Nations. The township of Havelock-Belmont-Methuen respectfully acknowledges that the Williams Treaties First Nations are the stewards and caretakers of the lands and waters in perpetuity, and that they continue to maintain this responsibility to ensure their health and integrity for generations to come. I'll ask everyone to make sure your cell phones are off or on vibrate so it doesn't disturb the meeting. And I'll remind council of declaration of pecuniary interest. If it arises, you can declare it then. And we have minutes here from a special council meeting on May 22nd for strategic plan. Special council meeting June 7th for wastewater, and the regular council meeting of June 18th. Everything's in order there. I'll look for a motion to receive those minutes. Moved by Councillor Doherty, second by Councillor Clement. All in favor? And that's carried. With that, we'll go into, we have 3 zoning bylaw amendments. So I'll look for a motion to go into the public meeting. Moved by Deputy Mayor Webb, second by Councillor Doherty. All in favor? And that's carried. We have 3 amendments here, and I'll start off with this is a statutory meeting held under Section 39 of the Planning Act. Any person may attend the public meeting and or make verbal or written representation either in support or in opposition to the proposed zoning bylaw amendments. Please keep your video off, microphone muted during the meeting until the chair invites comments regarding a planning matter. If a person or public body does not make oral submission at the public meeting or make written submission to the township of Havelock-Belmont-Methuen before the proposed zoning bylaw is passed, the person or public body is not entitled to appeal the decision of the council of the corporation of the township of Havelock-Belmont-Methuen to the Ontario Land Tribunal. If a person or public body does not make an oral submission at the public meeting or make written submissions to the township of Havelock-Belmont-Methuen before the proposed zoning bylaw amendment is passed, the person or public body may not be added as a party to the hearing of the appeal before the Ontario Land Tribunal unless, in the opinion of the tribunal, there are reasonable grounds to add the person or public body as a party. If you wish to be notified of the passing of the zoning bylaw amendment, you must make a written request to the township of Havelock-Belmont-Methuen. So that will apply to all 3 of the zoning bylaw amendments. And with that, I'll turn it over to Arya.
Through you, Mayor Martin. So the subject of this report is an application to amend the township of Havelock-Belmont-Metheun's comprehensive zoning bylaw 1995-42 as amended. The property owner being Carolyn Aw. The site plan is for everyone's illustration. The property's description or the property's location is part lot 16, concession 5, plan 10, lot 21. The property does have a municipal address of 27 Fire Route 88. And the property is also in the Methuen ward with an ARN, which is an assessment roll number of 1531-010-007-20500. So the purpose and effect of this report is to present for the consideration and requisite approval of council an application to amend the township's comprehensive zoning bylaw in order to permit the redevelopment of a new single detached vacation dwelling or seasonal recreational dwelling, while also introducing certain site-specific regulations. And the recommendation of this report is that, subject to any new information or public comments received prior to or at the statutory public meeting, that the draft bylaw be passed as presented. Just by way of a background on this property, so as proposed, the development of the subject lot will consist of a complete tear and rebuild of an existing seasonal recreational dwelling unit, and this is in order to facilitate the construction of a new seasonal recreational dwelling unit alongside an attached covered deck and landscape patio. Currently, the property is developed with an existing recreational dwelling unit comprising a total ground floor area of approximately 66 square meters, and that roughly translates to about 715 square feet, with 2 existing lakeside uncovered decks. There is also an existing detached structure attached to one of the lakeside decks of the recreational dwelling unit. And through our correspondence with the property owner and her agent, they have characterized the structure as a boathouse and reflected. So it was reflected as a boathouse, and it was reflected as the same on the site plan as well. So no alterations are being proposed to the boathouse itself. And according to the survey data provided and past information pertaining to building permits, the construction of the existing dwelling unit had taken place somewhat between 1950 and 1960. The boathouse was also built in the 1950s. I've mentioned the property owner, the description of the property, and the type of planning approval that is being sought today is under Section 34 of the Planning Act. A site visit was conducted on the subject property on May 28th, 2024, and there are no other planning applications that apply to this property. So the subject property comprises approximately 1.04 acres with shoreline frontage along Cashbog Lake. There's currently an existing recreational dwelling unit, as per my previous comments, it's 66 square meters. The property survey data that was provided by the applicant indicates the presence of several existing frame sheds on the property. One that is attached to an uncovered porch, again, attached to the seasonal recreational dwelling unit. And correspondence with the applicant and agent, again, do suggest that it is a boathouse. The total existing lot coverage is approximately 2.13% with the current structures. The total proposed lot coverage will be increased by approximately 5.5%. The current setback from the high watermark of Cashbog Lake for the existing recreational dwelling unit is 2.1 meters, so it's quite deficient, and 3.9 meters for the lakeside uncovered deck. The proposed development is definitely not intended to reduce any of these setback standards, and instead, the proposed development is being pushed further back from the shoreline of Cashbog Lake. The property is currently in the seasonal residential zone, and as the lot coverage allocation is being pushed up, it's still not above that 15% prescribed under the seasonal residential zone. Additionally, it is worth mentioning that a vast majority of the site will be maintained in its natural vegetative state and remain unaltered. So we've gone through the history of the property, just a little bit about the proposed development, as we can see on the site plan that is up there for us. The applicants are requesting permission to redevelop the subject property by, again, demoing the existing recreational dwelling unit to make way for a new recreational dwelling unit. As per the site plan does show, the setback from the high watermark for the new recreational dwelling unit is significantly improved upon, as opposed to the current structure that is there currently. And its accompanying decks will have a gross floor area of approximately 222 square meters, which is roughly 2,390 square feet. And the height of the structure is going to be less than the 30 feet that is prescribed under the seasonal residential. So based off of our analysis, our planning discussion, the township staff has determined that the subject application does maintain conformity with or it's consistent with the provincial policy statement, the growth plan for the Greater Golden Horseshoe. It does maintain the spirit and intent of the township's official plan, as well as the zoning bylaw. The application was adequately circulated to all property owners next door. 120 meters, that's the prescribed buffer. And to date, we have had no comments thus far. We've only had comments from Pearl Valley Conservation Authority, who have provided no concerns with the proposed development, as well as Peterborough Public Health. And that concludes my report.
All right, thank you, Arya. Okay, so the process here is I'll be asking 3 times if anybody wishing to speak in opposition of the application, followed by 3 times anybody wishing to speak in favor of the application. So start off, is there anybody wishing to speak in opposition of this application? Second time, anybody wishing to speak in opposition? And third time, anybody wishing to speak in opposition? Hearing none, is there anybody wishing to speak in favor of the application? I'm not sure if the applicant's here. Second time, anybody wishing to speak in favor? Oops.
Oh, I'm the applicant.
Okay, did you have anything to add there, Tari?
No, but just to say thank you for taking a look at the application.
Okay, thank you. Okay, second time, anybody wishing to speak in favor of the application? Third time, anybody wishing to speak in favor? Hearing none, I'll open it up to council. We do have a recommendation here. Have any questions or?
I'd like to make a recommendation for a motion with the recommendation of the planner.
Okay, so moved by Deputy Mayor Webb that we go with the recommendation here of staff. Do we have a seconder? Councillor Clement seconding that. Any questions? All in favor? And that's carried. Okay, the second application, the same deal as goes with that, but this one here is for Grant. Arya, I'll turn it over to you.
Through you, Mayor Martin, to members of council. The subject of this application is an application to amend the township's comprehensive zoning bylaw, much like the previous one. The applicants are Trevor Watkins and Cindy Grant. I believe Mr. Watkins is here present in council. And the property is located on part lot 18, concession 6, with an assessment roll number of 1531-010-004-07110. And the purpose and effect of this report is to present for the consideration and requisite approval of council an application to amend the township's comprehensive zoning bylaw in order to change the zone category on the subject property as a condition of consent application B-29-22, while also introducing certain site-specific regulations. And the recommendation is that, subject to any new information or public comments received prior to or at the statutory public meeting, that the draft bylaw be passed as presented. So by way of a background, so consent application B-29-22 was recommended for approval by Township Council on June 21st, 2022. This is prior to this council's the election. So it was the previous council that had approved this, and subsequently was also approved by Peterborough County Land Division on August 2nd, 2022. And the purpose of consent application B-2922 was a lot addition to add roughly around 0.7 hectares, which translates to about 1.75 acres of land from the shoreline property. The shoreline parcel identified as lot 12. We can see it up there. And lot 12 is on register plan 17 to the neighboring shoreline parcel identified as lot 13. So basically what's happening here is the interior parcel, the larger one, is all one. And essentially the owners of the subject lands are on lot 12, we can see over here. So the consent application basically is, let's put a lot line through this bigger parcel, the interior parcel, so that both of the property owners could have accessory structures, basically like garages on that back porch. So again, the effect of this application is ultimately to facilitate the construction of a new detached accessory structure. More or less, it's going to be in the shape of a detached garage on the portion of the lands east of the shoreline lots. And again, the property description is part lot 18, concession 6, and that would be east of 254 Burnt Dam Road in the Belmont ward. And the type of planning approval that is being sought today is under section 34 of the planning. And the only other planning application that is currently the subject property is subjected to is consent application B-2922. And this is just clearing up those conditions. So the subject property comprises approximately 1.45 hectares, and that's the interior parcel. That would be 3.59 acres with approximately 121 meters of lot frontage on Burnt Dam Road. According to the plan of survey that we have up right here, provided by the applicants, the retained parcel would provide for roughly 0.7 hectares, which is 1.8 acres of land, together with 72.8 meters of frontage maintained primarily on, actually solely on Burnt Dam Road. The severed parcel and the benefiting parcel, I should say, will be 0.71 hectares, which is roughly 1.75 acres of land, together with 49 meters. And we can just kind of see that kind of happening here. So the bigger parcel is just being divided into two, basically. So we have determined through our planning analysis that the subject application does maintain conformity with the provincial policy statement as well as the growth plan for the Greater Golden Horseshoe. It does maintain it maintains the spirit and intent of the County of Peterborough's official plan, the Township of Havelock-Belmont-Methuen's local official plan, as well as the Township of Havelock-Belmont-Methuen's comprehensive zoning. So this bigger parcel currently right now is in the Special District 115 zone. So basically when the zone is wiped, it would be two special districts. Instead, it would be Special District, I believe 182, and the other one would be Special District 183. And that concludes my report to council.
All right, thank you, Ari. All right, so I'll ask, is there anybody wishing to speak in opposition of this application? Second time, anybody wishing to speak in opposition? And third time, anybody wishing to speak in opposition? You said the applicant's here. Did you have anything to add to Aria's report?
Just thank the township and Aria for the extensive work and appreciate everything they've done. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so for the first time, is there anybody wishing to speak in favor of the application? Second time, anybody wishing to speak in favor? And third time, anybody wishing to speak in favor? So I'll open it up to council. Any comments or questions? We have a recommendation here.
I recommend approval basis of the recommendation.
Thank you. So that's moved by Councillor Doherty that we approve the recommendation. Second, Councillor, our Deputy Mayor Webb, seconding that. All in favor? And that's carried. Okay, thank you. All right, and the third zoning bylaw amendment is with regard to CCAN, and with that, I'll open it up to Aria.
Through you, Mayor Marty. Sorry, we didn't have a site plan for this because it applies to the entire township, so I'm just leaving that up there. So the subject of this application is a zoning bylaw amendment. It's a housekeeping amendment. So it's, I guess, a general housekeeping amendment. This was a deferred application, so the township did commence a statutory public meeting under Section 34 of the Planning Act on May 21st. And subsequently, it was deferred to provide a little bit further analysis. And now it's back on its township's position that it's ready to be approved. So the purpose and effect of this report is to present to council proposed amendments to the township's comprehensive zoning bylaw, which again enacted would serve to introduce a number of housekeeping changes to the document. And the recommendation is that subject to any new information provided to it prior to at the statutory public meeting, that the council proceed to pass the draft bylaw as is. So just by way of a background, township staff have previously presented council a number of reports regarding the matter with regards to shipping containers. There was a council resolution that was passed to move forward with the amendment, subject to any new analysis that was taken into consideration. Staff are hereby prepared to move forward with the proposed amendments in order to permit the use of shipping containers as accessory structures in certain zones and subject to any site-specific regulations. I won't go through like very detailed analysis over like what's happening with the zoning, but I mean, I think that was provided at the previous council meeting, but just as a sum up, the township through these amendments would permit shipping containers on certain lots, and that would be in the rural zone, in the agricultural zone, in the local commercial zone, which is a C1 zone, commercial tourist zone, which is the C2 zone, commercial trailer park zone, which is a C3 zone, and all of the industrial zones, so M1, M2, M3. In the rural and the agricultural zones, a maximum of 1 shipping container shall be permitted per 2.5 hectares. So it is dependent on size of the lot. That would mean that if a property is 0.4 acres, for instance, very deficient in its acreage, will not be given the approvals. However, that still doesn't mean that they can't apply for a minor variance, for instance. So in the local commercial, commercial tourist and the commercial trailer park zone, a maximum of 2 shipping containers shall be permitted. And finally, in the industrial zones, which is all the M series, it would be shipping containers shall be permitted, a maximum of 3. And so we did provide some, we did provide the public with the opportunity to provide any commentary should they have any. A public meeting was scheduled and held on May 21st, 2024 to obtain commentary regarding the proposed amendments. While ratepayers did express general support for the amendment, several attendees did express concern that one, that lakefront properties, for instance, or shoreline properties were being excluded from the permission sought here. So my reply, I guess, would be staff looked at previous council decisions, and it was determined that a similar amendment had taken place back in, I believe, 2018 to permit, those tarp garages, portable garages. So they pretty much almost the same process, housekeeping amendment. And it was determined that, at this public meeting in 2018 that they were not going to be permitted in the shoreline properties in the seasonal residential zone. Again, this doesn't preclude any property owners from applying for a planning application like a minor variance or zone amendment to allow for them. This just means that, so in this case, portable garage structures were not permitted in the seasonal residential zone and the island residential zone. So the same kind of effect is taken into consideration for shipping containers. Again, it doesn't preclude a property owner from applying for planning relief to obtain these structures on shoreline lots. Furthermore, neighboring municipalities to the township of Havelock-Belmont-Methuen have introduced like similar amendments for the use and regulations of shipping containers. These neighboring municipalities, some of them also do not permit them on shoreline lots that are almost equivalent to the seasonal residential zone and the island residential zone. Therefore, the proposed amendment under council's current consideration maintains consistency with the township's neighboring municipalities as well as their zoning bylaw. Finally, we had one member of the public who expressed concern that shipping containers cannot be distinguished from sheds and other accessory structures already permitted in the zoning bylaw. I would say that in response to this, the introduction of shipping containers or a section in the zoning bylaw that pertains to shipping containers, seeing as they're becoming more and more popular for storage purposes, they are still considered freight structures or freight containers that can easily be transported from one area of the property to another. They are also very multimodal in the sense that they come in all shapes and sizes, almost like sheds. So I would partly agree with the comments. However, there should be some zoning regulations. I mean, there are zoning regulations for accessory structures. I think shipping containers would be subject to the same provisions. However, more detailed guidelines are required. And with regards to permits and requiring permits, if a structure is less than 160 square feet, then it would not be subject to a building. In conclusion, the entire document will also, zoning bylaw would also be renumbered and reordered to implement the above noted amendments. And that concludes my report.
All right, thank you. Okay, so is there anybody wishing to speak in opposition of this zoning bylaw amendment? Okay, if you could come up to the mic and state your name. Thank you.
Frank DiFrancesco. Thank you, Aria, for that wonderful report. I just want to clarify, so a 20-foot by 8-foot, because like you said, these containers can come in various sizes. that is used as storage, would that require some sort of permission?
Through you, Mayor Martin, yes, that would. So they would essentially be just accessory structures. So yeah, it would be permitted under the permissions.
Sorry, say that again?
They're accessory structures. So yes, they would be permitted on certain lots.
You would need a permit.
Well, if it's 160 square feet or less, again, that's more of a building code related matter, and the building code is a different act than the planning act, but I'm of the opinion that 160 square feet, I believe, or less than that does not require it.
It does not. Okay.
Travis, do you want to add to that or?
Yeah, so the building code changed to permit sheds up to 15 square meters, 161 square feet without a permit. So as long as that shipping container is used as storage shed only, a building permit would not be required as long as it's less than 161 square feet. Still be a shipping container by definition, so comprehensive zoning bylaw would still apply. So depending on the lot, we determine how much.
Or to get any at all, if it's under 2.5 hectares.
Through your Mayor Martin, that is correct for the rural zone. Now, again, this doesn't preclude anyone from, applying for a minor variance or a zone amendment. In this case, we are allowing them on some properties. And that would, because right now they're not allowed under any circumstance. They're not allowed on anything. But in this case, we would provide some flexibility to ratepayers to have them on, because they do have utility. And so we would be permitting them on certain lots where they're not permitted. That doesn't mean that one cannot apply for a planning application, like a minor variance. If someone has like 3, for instance, it can't come forward with a minor variance. I mean, we can have a pre-consultation about that. But yeah, that would be the nature of this amendment.
So I'm not understanding. You would need a permit? You would need some sort of a permit?
Through you, Mayor Martin, I'd be of the opinion that if it's above 100, I mean, this is a
Below?
building code related matter, Mike.
No, Mr. Travis said you would still be,
So it's through you, Mr. Mayor. So if you have say 100-acre rural lot, the definition of shipping containers would apply. You would be allowed 2 shipping containers. If they're under 160 square feet, you would not need a building permit. If you wanted more than 2, you would have to go through a planning application,
even
the way it's drafted right now.
so even if they're used for storage,
Still a shipping container by definition.
Yes.
and the definition is that it's made out of steel, like what is the definition? Because so to you, Travis, if it's not this steel box that we're trying to call a shipping container and we build it out of wood and we have 100 acres, right now we can put as many as we want.
So through you, Mr. Mayor, depending on the zoning, say a rural lot, you get 8% lot coverage for accessory buildings.
Okay, so with 8% lot coverage, that would work with these 20-foot shipping containers.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, the shipping container bylaw would cap you at 2.
It would cap you at 2.
Because we're saying that these steel boxes are something special.
I mean, I don't know about the definition of special, but we are counting them as like a definition in our zoning bylaw, much like how a boathouse is defined in a zoning bylaw, how a shed is defined in a zoning, garage is defined as. There
So-
has to be some regulation.
I'm trying to understand why is it that the town is trying to regulate something that, I mean, no one was here last week complaining about this. We said that, you said that there's been members of the public that have come forward and expressed concerns. I did a freedom of information request for the past 10 years. And there was 2 reports given to me that were almost 95% redacted, which there was like a little blurb about, can you come talk to my neighbor about this shipping container? So I'm not understanding why we're trying to define these steel boxes as something special that requires a permit when it can be so helpful for the members of our community because of their durability, the cost effectiveness, the ease of transportation, they just get dropped there. So if no one in the town is complaining about it, why is the town using its resources to try and make a rule that really nobody wants?
Through you, Mayor Martin, I would say that zoning regulations are necessary for good planning. Okay, so for instance, if it was determined that on-water boathouses, for instance, are dangerous to the environment, then in the zoning bylaw, you have to cover saying no boathouses in water. And so, or else on-water boathouses would be a thing. The same thing applies here. My recommendation does not change.
So yeah, and I think it's since the sheds changed sizes from 100 square feet to 260 square feet is where people are having problems with not calling it a shed. So that's where it's come in, but I know a lot of our neighboring communities have been dealing with sea cans. The 20 footers, I'm not sure about, but I was surprised you've only seen 2. I haven't looked back at that to see how many complaints we had on sea cans, but I've heard lots of people. And maybe they're just talking and not doing an official complaint about their neighbors having one and they don't like it next door to them. So, but it's obviously not making it to an official complaint form.
And through you, Mayor Mark, just to add to that. I mean, when our department does a lot of site visits, we're out almost every week. They're all over the place. There, you go up 46, they're all over the place. 48, 44. You know, zoning bylaws change over time. Zoning bylaws change as a result of, you know, new land uses being introduced. This is one of them. And we are introducing regulations in place to make them be in places that are good for the environment, that are out of sight, that are, you know, consistent with the accessory structures in our zoning bylaw. So all in all, we are permitting it. And this would be a benefit to a lot of people.
Excuse me, if they're all over the place, that means that the members of the community want them and like them. So why, again, why are we creating more loopholes to jump through and making things more difficult for our community when there is no issue? No one is creating an issue. No one is complaining about a problem.
Right?
Sorry?
Are you through then? Well, you've taken your comments and that's what we're doing today is taking your comments. So.
I think just from our perspective, Frank, I take a lot of your comments for where they're coming from, but I think we're trying to take a slow and steady approach to this. So whereby, as you said, this is kind of a new thing to our municipality. 10, 15 years ago, they weren't allowed anywhere. So from my perspective, at least, I don't want to open the floodgates. I see them out there too. But I'd like to have kind of a responsible approach, have them out there. Maybe, as I said, this is maybe step 1. See how the public reacts to it. If there's no real, you know, pushback on this, then we move ahead. Maybe we expand it a bit further. But I would be very hesitant in terms of, as I said, just opening the floodgates and letting people take as many shipping containers out to their property, right? Because I think, especially for lakefront people and people like that, it would greatly change their property and their experience of their property. So I think it's a wise approach. It might not be obviously the speed that some people would like, but I think it's a prudent way for us to go about handling this. So
It's the same with sheds. You're only allowed so many on for the percentage of your lot coverage and they have to be 5 feet from apart. They can't be, there's all kinds of rules around sheds. You just can't put 15 sheds on the property with no permit. There's zoning for that. So
I just don't understand why we're saying that this is not, it's not a shed. If someone calls it a shed and it's built with steel walls and it's a square box, who is the town to dictate what they want to build their 160 square feet at?
oh, yeah, you make a good point. I just gotta ask Travis, would it have to do with the fact that it's movable in terms of, you know what I mean? Like one, obviously shipping containers can be moved. A shed, I would assume in most cases is going to be planted to the ground and not movable, but would that have to do with the definition of two different? Okay.
So through you, Mr. Mayor, would come back to the definition of shipping container.
okay.
And what is the definition? Can someone read me the definition of shipping container?
It's a lengthy definition. It's in the report. I just don't know it by heart. So it's like, it's very clear what it stands for. It's like, you know, no stacking is permitted. It pretty much just identifies it as a multimodal structure that is, you know, it has steel roofs and whatnot. Again, I mean, if someone wants to pull up the draft bylaw, it's right in there.
And I think it's just a shipping container to me has a data plate on it and it's been approved by the CSC. Okay, So, yeah, so first of all, let's clear up what a shipping container was.
Okay, thank you.
I was here previously, okay. I have a cottage on Belmont Lake, North End, all right. So the shipping container is approved by the CSC, which is the, what is it, the actual definition here? It's an acronym, which somebody out there. The shoot, it's not here. Convention for Safe Containers, and they all have a data plate on them stating they've been tested, when they've been certified, how much weight they can take stacked, how much weight they can take shifted, how much weight they can hold inside the container, the gross weight, and all that. So to me, that's a definition of a shipping container. They only come in 3 formats. Okay, 20 foot by 10, 40 foot by 10, and there's something called a high boy, which I think has an extra 5 feet on it. You see them on the highway, they can have an extra 5 feet on either end, and they're slightly taller. I think they're a foot or 2 taller than the standard container. Okay. I agree with everything you're proposing. I mean, we have to have rules surrounding anything people want to do. However, there's a little bit of conflict I see in the way you're going about who's allowed to have them. So for instance, I'll ask you the question, would the marina on Belmont Lake be allowed to have a shipping container? They're a commercial.
Through you, Mayor.
Through you.
If they're in the commercial 2 zone, they would be.
Okay, would the trailer park be allowed to have Belmont Lake?
They would be permitted. They were in the C3 commercials.
Okay, so they are within basically the same footprint as someone with a seasonal property.
I don't, so we have a lot of properties that are very under acreage,
Okay,
like they're less than 0.74 acres. It's in the zone.
okay,
And I would say that a majority of properties in our town that I've come across in the shorelines, they're within that 30-meter setback of the highway. And again, this does not preclude from you, Mr. Donker, coming in and going, look, I want a minor variance. Can I have one? We can discuss that, whether or not we can support or whatnot. I mean, we can determine that in pre-consultation. But at least if we allow them on certain properties, there might be a possibility that we can extend it to them. And I entirely agree with Councillor or Deputy Mayor Wynn.
well, I mean, I don't really see, if you're gonna allow Brent Berry to have one or the trailer park to have one, it's kind of a little bit discriminatory that number one, seasonal residents are excluded. So my neighbor, 2 neighbors down, he lives here full time. So he's technically a full-time resident, but he's in a seasonal zone. So how does this rule apply to him? Again, he can obviously apply for variance. I just find it, you know, I agree with everything. Like, you know, we don't want people dumping something close to the water. I don't really agree with this building code either. Like, take the shipping container away. I'm allowed to build whatever I want with whatever I want, and no one could say anything. Like, these containers are safe and they're affordable. You know, they can be moved. Hey, if we're gonna have a flood, I can have a tow truck come and freaking yank this thing on a flatbed. It's gone. You know, when I did some research into allowable storage units, and I do believe you allow tractor trailers to be storage units. No, that's not in this township. That was another township, but there are other towns. Those things are dangerous. They have fiberglass roofs, they tip over, real dangerous stuff. Anyway, I don't know. I think for the amount of people who are seasonal who would entertain the idea of one of these things, even as a temporary thing for say 2 years as they were building a garage or redoing their cottage, I think it's a little bit, you know,
That's permitted. So you're allowed to have them for construction
Yeah.
purposes, and it's
Yeah.
just the having them on lakefront, they weren't applied for the portable garages. Like at the time when portable garages were being permitted, they came in and they didn't include the seasonal resident. I'm just providing consistency with past
Yeah.
decisions.
okay, so but a portable garage is they're junk, they're garbage. They came in under snow loads that rodents get into them. They're not safe, you know, like my insurance company insures contents of the container. The container itself isn't insured, but the contents are. You know, I don't know. I don't see, and you know, they're actually, the fact that they're unsightly to some people, that's a matter of opinion. Right? Like if we get back, that's the reason. You know, I just don't understand, you're allowing me to build a structure that's the same square footage as a container. Saying it's for the lot size and I don't need a permit, but I can't drop something that's certified, proven. For permanent storage or semi-permanent storage. On a proper pad, raised off the ground. You know, there's other things too, with these containers, people leave them on the ground, they get full of condensation and whatever inside gets destroyed. And they actually need to be stored above the ground so that there's no condensation inside the container. So that, you know, if you have it on a proper pad, you know, 16 inches of the 3-inch and then gravel, I mean, I think there also needs to be some, you have to visit some of this stuff as well, right? Anyway, that's all I have to say. Okay, thanks.
So, yeah, and thank you. That's, so two of you have spoke today.
Yes.
We hear from lots of people, and we hear both sides of the thing. And I remember when we dealt with this back in 18, I guess it was, there was another aspect that came into it around emergency services, not from our emergency services.
Right.
He kind of defended the one out at the 6th line there, the ones that they use for paint storage and things like that. They have a built-in extinguishing system, so they don't have to go into that if a fire starts.
Right.
Some of the things that came up at those meetings is if these are stamped for safe use, did they come over with nuclear stuff in them, or did they come over with, I don't know whether, we don't know what was in that container when it came across the ocean. And then if there's a fire in it and our firefighters have to deal with it, that was what came up a few years ago. That's just one thing. So we're hearing from yous, we've heard from others. So, and that's the tough thing about this job, is trying to make a decision that pleases everyone. Never gonna please everyone.
Okay, so to your comment about the could have harmful material in it. The only thing that can absorb any material in these things is the hardwood floor.
Yeah.
And you know right away when you walk into a container, if it's had food spilled in it, chemicals spilled in it, or automotive oil or grease, so you can tell immediately.
Fireworks.
Or fireworks, things like that, because that'll be absorbed in the wooden floor. You know, and these containers are inspected, like when I got a container, it had been inspected within that year when it was purchased. You know, like I talked the last meeting about one-way containers that are specifically designed for storage. And the fire department, you know, I respect that they need to be safe and approach their job, you know, accordingly, but there are many other situations that they run into that are far more harder to deal with than a shipping container that could possibly be on fire. And at least the fire is contained, it's not going anywhere once you open the door, right? So, you know, I understand their concern, but I don't think it's, you know. Anyway, okay, appreciate it. Thanks.
Thank you. So. Okay, second time, anybody wishing to speak in opposition? Third time, anybody speak in opposition? Okay, so is there anybody wishing to speak in favor of the amendment? Second time, anybody wishing to speak in favor? Third time, anybody wishing to speak in favor? Hearing none, I'll open it up to council. See where you want to go here. There's a recommendation here. Councilor Doherty, go ahead.
But I'd like to maybe clear up the confusion. This is not a new bylaw. This is simply a housekeeping bylaw that was put in 2018. Other than we're changing some terminology because sea containers have become popular and we're changing the word to match the market. And so it's not new, it's just clarifying what was in place in 2018. Is that right?
Through your mayor, Martin. Yeah, so basically, in 2018, these portable garage structures, I believe, became like very popular and people wanted to have them and some people didn't. And so it came forward in the form of a zoning bylaw amendment to amend the entire document to allow a little section for portable garage structures. This is exactly the same thing. We're just amending the zoning bylaw to allow, to create a new section just for shipping. It's not a new document, it's just amending an existing document.
So the shipping container wasn't in the 18.
Regulations for shipping containers.
Yeah. So that's the housekeeping part of it. It's the new part of it is the shipping container. The past one was around.
I got it.
Okay, I'm just clarifying.
Thank you.
So. Okay, any other questions or comments?
I have a quick question then, is it grandfather? Someone had one say before that time, there was no.
Okay, any questions, comments? Otherwise, there is a recommendation here. Or some sort of motion. Council Clement.
Can I ask a question, please? So the only thing we didn't allow for in this, to have a base put underneath the cans, right? Like they're gonna put them right on the ground?
Through you, Mayor Martin, to you, Councillor Clement, I don't think the zoning bylaw goes that specific. I mean, where they put it or I guess the foundation of it, I mean, that would be subject to, if it's bigger than 160 square feet, it would be a building permit, I guess. But yeah, the zoning bylaw doesn't talk, it just more or less is broad, like they're allowed in the zone, you know, to.
Okay, well, no, I'm sorry, I'm thinking about the environment when this thing rots or whatever, they go to pick it up. Because that's what we're talking about, a wooden base, right?
It's made of steel.
Bottom?
Inside is wood,
Okay.
outside
Okay,
steel.
all right, that's fine.
So, yeah, so we're getting both sides here. We're getting zoning, it's planning, and building, it's building. So it's lined up here. Because there's two different things here. It's part of getting into a bad permanent foundation. You know, I don't know how that fits into the building thing, but for today's purpose on this zoning bylaw amendment, it's clarifying the cans are allowed and where they're allowed. So. I just like to go ahead.
Yeah, I have one question. If we pass the draft bylaw, does that exclude the cottagers to come and actually request to have a storage container?
Through you, Mayor Martin, to you, Councillor Flagler. So again, the permissions right now is a starting point. We're saying at the beginning, we're allowing them in the rural zone, agricultural zone, and the commercial and industrial zones. If there is justification to include them in the seasonal residential zone, we can look at that too. And if someone, even if it's not included in the seasonal residential zone, for instance, Mr. Gonker could come to the township and go like, I want a shipping container on this property. Okay. Here's a pre-consultation and we can talk about what type of planning approvals would be required. So there's definitely avenues.
Okay, so then anyone that's on the links can come and request to have, right?
Absolutely.
So in my understanding, it must be a cheaper option than just building a shed. I'm not understanding why they want the shipping containers other than it's the low cost.
That's
Okay.
Speak up. Well, they're all road proof, waterproof.
Yes, I do understand that. Yeah.
All right, Deputy Mayor Webb, go ahead.
So, yeah, after quite a bit of discussion, I'd like to thank staff for the work they put into these amendments. I know what council has asked for here. From what I hear from the public, there'll probably be more discussion on this bylaw going forward, but I'll make a motion that we approve the amended bylaw as written for today.
All right, so let's move by Deputy Mayor Webb. Do I have a seconder for the motion? Second by Councillor Flagler. Questions, comments? All in favor? And that's carried. Okay. All right, with that, I'll look for a motion that we move out of the public meeting and moved by Councillor Clement, second by Deputy Mayor Webb, all in favor? That's carried. And now I'll look for a motion to go into committee of adjustment with Deputy Mayor Webb and chair. Moved by Councillor Doherty, second by Councillor Clement, all in favor, and that's carried. Go ahead, Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor Martin and members of committee adjustment. I'd like to call this public meeting to order and remind the members of the committee of the requirement to disclose any pecuniary interest or general nature thereof if the occasion arises. This public meeting is held under section 45 of the Planning Act and its regulations, and we'll now have our planning consultant Aria present one minor variance report for today. Aria.
through the chair. The subject of this application is a minor variance application A-9-23. Perfect. And the subject property, the owners are William and Lisa Fisher. I think they're here. They might be on the call. And the municipal address is 8 Fire Route 85G. The roll number is assessment roll number is 1531-010-007-40600. And the property is located in part lot 28, concession 8. And the acreage is roughly around 1.2 acres. The property is in the seasonal residential zone. The official plan designation for the subject property is in the shoreline designation. And the property is again in the Methuen ward in the township of Havelock-Belmont-Methuen. So the purpose and effect of this minor variance application is to seek relief from sections 4.37 and 10.2.2.1 of the township's comprehensive zoning bylaw to permit the development of 2 accessory structures in the form of frame sheds. This application will have the following effects, and there's 2 of them. One, reducing the high watermark setback from 30 meters and 30 meters roughly translates to about 100 feet, to 12.3 meters, which is 40 feet. Also, the second effect is increasing the total area of all accessory structures and buildings from 75% of the total floor area of the main building to 80%. And the recommendation is that minor variance application A924 be approved with the following conditions. That a 20-day appeal period lapse prior to the issuance of a building permit, that a building permit be issued within the 18 months of the approval of this application, and that the balance of this report be received. So just very quickly, by way of analysis, so the application presently before the committee's consideration is to permit the property owners to construct 2 accessory structures. And we can kind of see them here. One is in the black, and then the other one is, it's kind of harder to see, but where the sewage system is on the most southerly, this one. This one right here, the wood shed.
Oh.
Yeah. One will be used for storage purposes, and one may be used for like a multi-purpose studio. Purpose of it is the property is currently developed with an existing 1-story recreational dwelling unit, serviced with both private sewage and water facilities. The recreational dwelling unit is deficient in its high watermark setback. We can clearly see it on the site plan being illustrated. The property also contains an existing dryland boathouse situated directly on the westerly shoreline. The approval of this application will have no effect on the recreational dwelling unit that is in existence there, as well as the boathouse. So through our consultation, the property is currently not located in the Crow Valley Conservation Authority's watershed jurisdiction. Therefore, their commentary was not provided. And any consultation with Peterborough Public Health is currently underway. Currently, have not provided any comments this far. So we have determined, staff have determined through our review that the current application maintains all 4 tests of a minor variance and is consistent with the provincial policy statement as well as the growth plan for the Greater Walden Horseshoe. And that concludes my report to the committee.
Thank you very much for the report, Ari. Is the applicant or agent present or online with us today?
Yes, I'm here.
Can you state your name, sir?
Bill Fisher.
Do you have anything to add?
Nope.
Comment? No.
Just appreciate you taking a look at the application. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Fisher. Is there anyone present here online wishing to speak in opposition of the application? Second time, anyone wishing to speak in opposition of the application? Third and final time, anyone wishing to speak in opposition of this application? Is there anyone present or online wishing to speak in favor of the application? Second time, anyone wishing to speak in favor? Third and final time, anyone wishing to speak in favor of the application? Hearing no comments or from the public, I'll open up the floor for any questions from the members of the Committee of Adjustment. Councillor Clement.
Through you, question for you, Arya. So in the forum here, they already have a cottage and a boathouse and a woodshed. Going down further, they want a workout area, that's fine. But they already have an existing woodshed built in 2022. Is this the same woodshed?
Through the chair, that would be correct. Yes, it would be the same woodshed. I believe it was under a specific size that it was not determined whether or not they needed a building permit if they didn't. So it was more or less, let's capture it. If you're going through the minor variance process now, you might as well capture that structure.
So they're looking for authorization on an existing structure.
Basically,
Okay, thank you.
unless Mr. Fisher says otherwise.
Thank you for that. Any other comments or questions from the committee? Mayor Martin?
Yeah, I'd be prepared to make a motion that we approve application A 924
So
with
we
conditions.
have a motion from Mayor Martin to approve. A seconder, Councillor Doherty, seconder. Comments or questions on the motion? Not all in favor? That's passed. Thank you. Thank you for that report, Aria. That concludes all our reports today, but we do have correspondence to the committee. I've received a letter from Mr. Ambrose Moran regarding a hunting camp on Sharps Bay and Jacks Lake. Mr. Moran, in his letter, included quite a few questions here. I'm sure all councils had a look at it. Aria, would you care to speak in terms of questions Mr. Moran had for the committee?
Through the chair, I believe, I'm not gonna lie, I'm a little confused as to, the conclusion of Mr. Moran's, I mean, he does raise. And I commend him for, watching the lakes and, being able to, provide commentary. I think it's fair that we do have people around every one of our lakes that they're ambitiously trying to protect the lakes, and that is very commendable. The subject application that is being referred to is a previous application at the previous council meeting, which was in May, or I believe in June. So basically, the subject application met all four tests in the minor variance. It met good planning principle. It was outside 30 meters of the shoreline setback and natural heritage features. We're permitting limited residential uses on a shoreline property, which is consistent with the official plan, as well as the zoning bylaw. And any comments that are provided in, we, through our analysis, we're pretty much just basing it off of the information that we have. I mean, the applicant provided the information, and then we do our own independent analysis with GIS and mapping and whatnot. When I flagged the property on our GIS system, nothing really came up. There was only, I believe, some fish spawning areas, and there is no flag to determine if whether or not there is a hunting reserve on the property and all that stuff, which I'm not entirely sure where the information came from. There was also there was concern that the property was located in the at capacity portion of Jack Lake. I respectfully disagree with that, because the mapping that is provided to us by the Peterborough County GIS department is further provided by the MNR, which is the Ministry of Natural Resources, the province of mapping. They don't indicate anywhere close to that property is at capacity.
Thank you very much for that. You addressed quite a few of those questions. There are a couple of questions I have in terms of the game preserve and the at capacity on Sharps Bay, which I'm sure will continue to be an argument going forward. But the one question I had that he brought up that I thought was interesting was it's listed as water access only. And his question was, why is it not listed as a seasonal residential? Well, could you explain that?
Yeah, absolutely. Through to the chair. The property is zoned as open space. Why it's not considered seasonal residential, I have no idea. It was carried, the zoning schedules are carried forward from previous zoning bylaws. So if we go back to like 1974, which is the township's previous, like the very first zoning bylaw, I didn't check if whether or not the property was zoned open space at the time. I don't even know if the open space was I think there was an open space zone in the 77 bylaw, but not in 74. So how the property was zoned as open space, that is entirely up to the private property owner. We didn't think there was a need to amend the zoning bylaw to seasonal residential because they just wanted a hunting camp. And a hunting camp more or less could be just a recreational camp. I mean, they could just, use it for like, hey, I'm putting my stuff away and then I'm gonna go fishing. That's pretty much like, yeah. And so there was no need to amend the zoning bylaw and put them through an even further strenuous planning application. Because the zone of the property already permitted a hunt camp. They just needed one regulation to be varied, and that's it. And the deal was all the structures are to be outside 30 meters of any wetland features or any natural heritage features. And that was exactly what happened, and it constituted good planning.
Good. Thank you very much for that response. I appreciate that. Hopefully, Mr. Moran is listening and you've sufficiently answered some of his questions. Mayor Martin, go ahead.
Yeah, so and one of the things referred to was the capacity of Sharps Bay, and from what I understand, this is an existing lot of record, so it's already been approved as a lot, so it doesn't fit into that either, so anyways, that's just another piece of the correspondence. So,
Thank you very much for clarifying that, Mayor Martin. Councilor Doherty, go ahead.
I had the same question as you on the gaming zoning. So where did that come from? Do we have any record of it now? Because from reading what Mr. Moran said, it kind of made sense what he said. Approving a hunting camp in a non-hunting area.
Yeah, through to the chair. So that wouldn't be a zone. It's a hunting reserve. Now, my understanding is that it's a licensing kind of system. So with all of the applications, I would say 100% of the applications I've worked on in the 3 years that I've worked here on Jack Lake. I mean, I've worked on files all over Jack Lake. I have not once heard of this gaming reserve. There is no flag. There's no layer on the GIS mapping to indicate that this property is, like, how is one supposed to know these things? Where's the mapping? Who's providing the mapping? If MNR is not saying that it's a game reserve, who's saying that it is? It can't just be like the locals say, oh yeah, it's a gaming reserve. I'm still not sure where the mapping comes from.
Follow up, I'm not concerned where the mapping came from, but is it something that's on the property? And how do we, like, who implemented it? And if we don't know that, then Mr. Moran must have some information. He got it somewhere. Did we inquire as to where he got the information? Because if you carry on with it, they divided it into 2 lots. And it's water access, which is an issue. And is it water access or can it be reached by land?
Through to the chair. So basically the property, I don't have the application in front of me, but I believe on MPAC's assessment data, it is characterized as a water access. So we're going off of assessment data that's provided by MPAC. Now, with regards to the gaming reserve, there's no mapping that I have, or I have no idea how to identify a property as a gaming reserve. I don't even know what policies those are. Our GIS system does not even provide any mapping that suggests that a property falls within a gaming reserve and policies that apply to it. I have no idea where it's coming.
So did Mr. Moran just go balloon 6 and it's now on? Like, he must have got this from some place. Can we find out where he got it so we know for the future?
Thank you, Councilor Doherty. Already in the report or in the questions that he's emailed us, there's actually a map on here. Now, there's no notation of where he got this map, but on the map, it does list Jack's Lake, Kosh Lake, and then some kind of a game preserve listed there. So this is obviously where he's got the idea from, but I don't know where this map is from, right? So
through the chair, I also wanted to comment that the gaming reserve has never come, like I've done maybe about 2050, 2030 applications on Jack Lake, and in that vicinity of that property too. No one's ever mentioned anything about gaming reserve thus far.
okay, thank you very much, Ari. I appreciate it. Thank you for answering all the questions. There's no more comments or questions from the committee. As I said, I'd just like to thank Ari for all his reports today and look for a motion to adjourn to the public meeting, return it back to the regular council meeting. Moved by Councilor Doherty, seconder, Councilor Flagler, all in favor? That's passed. Over to you, Mayor Martin.
all right, thank you. All right, so the next part of our agenda is it's going to be a public meeting with regards to the word system. So I'll look for a motion that go into a public meeting with regards to that for some input. Moved by Deputy Mayor Webb, second. second, Councillor Flagler, all in favor, and that's carried. Okay, so we have, what I have here is two scheduled delegations and one was added here, so start off with scheduled delegation with Terry Reese. Welcome, Terry.
Hello. Thanks, Mayor Martin, and members of council, opportunity to speak to you today about the proposed changes to the water system at Havelock-Belmont-Methuen. My name is Terry Reese. I'm from seasonal resident in Cashbog my whole life. As you probably know, I've been actively involved in the municipal elections in the area for many years, mostly just trying to encourage people to be involved, figure out what happens here, and figuring that this is the most important level of government for most people, that they ought to know what's happening here and who's running the show. Encourage people to run, make sure they vote. So despite all that, 29% of the people voted last time, which is unimpressive, I would say. So 7,500 voters in 2022, and I say 3%. I provided some information as I requested appear here to a decision that was in the Army because of our kind of ward system, which they reviewed, council reviewed, definitely changed because of the inequities that were in the system that distorted the amount that one person's vote counted versus else's. So that was in or so. So to speak in support of the ward system, and that's the extent of my comments today, just based on what I've seen, what I think is equitable around vote counts the same. We're one trip, we've been a Mountain Township for many years, and we should all have the interests of township at our table. And I think that if we just vote the power of each vote, and we don't allow the best candidates to get elected every year or every and that's something we're missing at the. It's hard enough to get people to run, we want people to run it, and so that very much dissolving that ward system. Yeah, the end of my comments. I know, short and sweet. But
That's the shortest I've ever heard.
that's it. Much of any mention, otherwise it turned over to Jen. I'm just gonna go by the way.
Yeah. Terry?
Yeah, just in terms of making the change, Terry, would you be in favor of going like the way of, say, our neighbors in Norwood in terms of three councillors, just the top,
Yeah.
everybody around the top three get in?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Oh,
I'm also I don't necessarily have an opinion about whether the deputy position, I mean, head of council, I can see as a vote. I know in other places they vote, you know, you can determine the deputy amongst the top four, for instance.
Yeah.
Maybe that would work. I don't, there's no magic to this stuff, but just trying to figure out how to do it in a way that gets the best people with the best support at council every term. Yeah, thank you.
Appreciate it. Thanks, Terry.
Okay, next is Jennifer Cummings. Welcome, Jennifer.
Thank you, and thanks for allowing us to speak. I'll be even briefer than Terry. I'm the current president of the Lake Cashbog Residents Association. And just want to say that our board is 100% supportive of dissolving the ward system. And thank you very much for starting the process.
Thanks, Jen.
Thank you. Okay, and the next, Dave Giroux.
Good morning, Mr. Mayor, members of council, staff. It's good to be here this morning. For those of you who don't know me, my name is David Giroux, and I am the former deputy mayor of this municipality. This item has been kicked around for a few terms now, and I'd just like to give you my comments if I may. This morning, I would like to address the council about the ward system. It is my understanding that the survey that went out in regards to the ward system had a very high number of replies. which indicates to me there is a huge interest in the system and the way it is currently. In my opinion, it should be changed. Councillors I know from the past received calls from ratepayers throughout the entire municipality with questions and concerns. However, all of the ratepayers do not get a say in who makes up the whole of council. Council should work for all the people all the time, not just the people in their ward. As it stands, only the residents of the village ward have a say in who the village ward council is, which in my opinion is wrong. I truly believe it is time for change and have no more ward system. One for all and all for one. If a person is going to run for council, I think it should be a level playing field, which is not the case now. I think if it was, it may bring a wider participation to whom would want to run for council. If an individual is willing to run for council, I believe that all hopeful council members of the whole municipality should find out what the issues are and explain to the ratepayers what their thoughts are. So in my opinion, you can do this two ways. No matter how many names there are on the ballot, you could vote for 4 councillors plus the mayor. Then the elected council decides who the deputy mayor will be, or vote for the deputy mayor and the mayor. The remaining highest 3 number of votes make up the council. It's 2 scenarios. Either one will work. It is clear, it's simple, and it's fair. So thank you for your time. If there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Okay, are there any questions for Dave? Go ahead.
Just one question. Thank you very much for your presentation, Deputy Mayor. Which one would you prefer?
I prefer the one that the council decides who the deputy mayor is.
Okay. All right, thank you. So that's the end of the listed delegations. Is there anybody wishing to speak about the ward system? You're welcome to come up and state your name and or up here online. I don't see anybody online for it, but if there's any more input, we do have another meeting at 6 o'clock tonight with regards to this. So, so with that, if there's no other questions, or I'll look for a motion that we close this portion of and receive the delegations we had.
Sorry.
Oh, well, you're welcome to.
All news to me. Hi, my name's Christopher DeLine. I've moved to Havelock 7 years now. It's an impressive little town. I was really impressed by the fact that during fires that happened in this town, how many people really pitched in and pulled together. The whole town, seemed like. I found that very impressive. So I decided to write up a thing saying thank you to all the people that did donate and companies that went out of their way. And one more thing I'm trying to find out is there was a money donation fund. And exactly how much of that money donation was it that these people can expect? And in view of the fact that donations stopped June 15th.
So that
Where's
is
the money?
So that's something totally different from the ward systems. Today, we're dealing, this public meeting is for.
When do I come and talk to you about this?
I would suggest you come into the office and get on as a delegation, or we can, it's not really anything to do with the township, any of those donations.
I just wondered who I talked to.
Yeah, so I would suggest you come into the office and talk up front. They might be able to steer you to the right people that were in charge of the collecting. It wasn't the township that was collecting for that.
Well, apparently, and they're gonna charge people to deduct money from said monies from the fire victims to haul a couple of things to the dump.
Yeah, so that's
That's
something,
pretty shallow.
so that might be something to, come back. You're welcome to phone me tonight if you like, or,
I'll make an appointment.
okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so is there anybody else that wishes to speak about the water system? If not, I'll look from that we received the delegations and we close this portion. So moved by Councillor Doherty, seconded by Deputy Mayor Webb. All in favor? And that's carried. Thank you. With that, I'm gonna look at the motion that we take a 5-minute recess here and come back at 10-minute recess. We'll come back at 5 to 11. So motion moved by Councillor Doherty, second by Councillor Clement, all in favor, carried. Okay, so look for a motion that we resume the meeting, moved by Councillor Doherty, seconded by Deputy Mayor Webb, all in favor, and that's carried. And we're gonna move into planning report. So the first planning report here is so Arya.
Mayor, members of council, yes, so the subject of this application is a lot addition. The application number is B 47-24. The location of the property is over on part lot 25 concession 9 in the Methuen ward, and the municipal address is 572 Jack Lake. It's Griggs Island, and this is a water access only property, has been identified under the assessment information. So the purpose of this report is to obtain a recommendation of council to be submitted to Peterborough County Land Division regarding consent application B 47-24. And the recommendation is that council advise Peterborough County Land Division that the township would endorse an application for consent. Again, file number B 47-24 for a lot addition being referenced as the attached application for consent that was filed on May 2nd, 2024. The assessment roll number for the subject property is 1531-010-007-51200. And the effect of this application is to add a parcel of land, which we can see as the red portion. The green is the retained parcel, so the red portion would be going next to 560, so it would be part of 560. And that property's assessment roll number is 1531-010-007-51300. And the following condition is only one, subject to the approval of council, is that a merger agreement for the parcel being added to be provided to the township in their satisfaction. So by way of a background, the applicant is the owner of 572 Jacks Lake. The retained parcel, as we can see, the green portion is roughly 0.67 hectares, which is roughly 1.6 acres. The applicants are proposing to sever off approximately 0.047 hectares, which is roughly 0.11 acres. And we can see that as the red portion on the map. And that would be conveyed to the property owner next door, owned by Donald Jenkins. So the application now before council was filed with Peterborough County Land Division in April of 2024, and was subject also of a preliminary severance review completed back in March of 2024. And the preliminary severance review is just commentary for Peterborough County Land or the planning department regarding conformity with provincial policy and all that. So that was done. We have mentioned the property description, and as proposed, there were no previous severances to date based off of township records. The consent application would have the effect of severing off a small portion, as we can see the red portion, and add it to the adjacent parcel with the municipal address of 560 Jacks Lake. This would have the effect of increasing the square footage of the beneficiary lot from 0.37 acres to 0.5 acres. So they're adding a little bit to, the property, that property is very deficient, and they're improving it by adding a little bit of more land to it. As this is a lot line adjustment, so a lot addition can refer to them as lot line adjustment. No change of use is being proposed as a result of the approval of this application. And by way of governing planning policies and bylaws under the zoning bylaw or regulations in our zoning bylaw. Based on our review of the application together with all the supporting material, it is township's planning opinion that the proposed consent application conforms to the policies of the township's official plan, as well as the regulations and provisions in the township zoning bylaw. And that concludes my report.
Great, thank you. That's the council. Any questions with regards to this? Councilor Doherty, go ahead.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, just a point of clarity, the 560 lot presently doesn't have any lakefront?
Through the mayor, I believe they do. I believe they do. The only portion that might not be in their ownership is, you see where this little chunk right here, where the fire road kind of, or no, the property line boundary division starts right here. We did determine through our analysis that they do not own that, and that's Crown land, but MNRF has provided commentary that they're okay to sell it. So basically, this is that red portion is what we're seeing. They do have frontage on Jack Lake.
Before or after the
Before.
Where would that be?
Yeah, so basically it would be this parcel inclusive of this portion as well. So this portion is under another legal description. But I have checked to see if whether or not this portion is included in the legal description of this property, and it is.
So 562 is not, that line is not dividing it away from Jack's Lake.
That's it, yeah.
So what's the line there? Is it a roadway?
So I would believe that that's actually the property line boundary. It's just erroneously depicted on the GIS.
It's probably the
County's mapping system.
well, and the M&R owns the front of most lake properties, or a lot of the lake properties, and that's probably what that is, but it looks like a big line compared to the other one.
Yep.
Is that, sorry,
Go ahead.
through you, Mr. Mayor, is that shoreline or is it like an EPA?
Through you, Mayor Martin, to you, Councillor Webb, I believe that it's just standard shoreline. Thank you.
Well, a lot of them are 20 feet. That one looks more than that. I think that's why it kind of raises the question, right? So, but that's their water plan. Well, for everybody.
Yeah. Yes, but I'll make a motion that we approve the recommendation of the planner.
Okay, so that's moved by Deputy Mayor Webb. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Flagler. Any other questions? All in favor? And that's carried. Next item here is another merger agreement with, go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor Martin, members of council. So the purpose of this report is to seek the execution of signatures for both the clerk and the mayor in relation to a merger agreement pertaining to the property identified as part lot 18 concession 6. Again, this is the same zoning bylaw amendment that we did prior. Part lot 18 concession 6 in the geographic ward of Belmont. And as identified as a condition of consent. So this is another condition that they had to do, is that they had to provide to the township in legal documentation that those two parcels are actually going to become merged. And this is what that agreement is basically. And the recommendation is that the mayor and clerk be authorized to enter into a merger agreement with the applicants of the consent application B2922 to merge the severed parcel with the abutting lands identified by property roll numbers 1531-010-004-07110, as well as the assessment roll number 1531-010-004-08101. And that parcel is identified as part 1 on plan 45R-17674. That's pretty much the survey right here. An illustration of which is provided as an attachment to this report. It's up on the screen, as we can see. So again, by way of a background, consent application B2922 was recommended for council's approval on July 21st, 2022. It would be the previous council. Peterborough County Land Division at the time issued the attached notice of decision on August 2nd, 2022, in which the severance was granted with conditions that, well, the condition is that they do a rezoning, which we've addressed, as well as a merger agreement, which is this right now. There are no financial impacts related to the approval of this merger agreement. I do want to mention one quick thing. So the draft agreement is, so it's with the township council. So the mayor and the clerk signed it on behalf of council. On the draft document, it does stipulate Peterborough County. And so that has to be changed. So what we can do here is in principle approve it and then have them change it. And then provide us with the changes. So it won't say Peterborough County, it would say Township of Havelock-Belmont-Methuen. And that concludes my report.
Okay. Council Doherty.
Question through you, Mayor. Which one of these lots on the other side of Burnt Dam Road is this attached to?
Yeah, through you, Mayor Martin, to you, Councillor Doherty. So right now, the entire parcel, without like if we exclude the line in between, is currently with lot 12. So the lot 12 owners own that big portion. When the line division is created, the southern portion is going to lot 13, and then the lot 12 just retains the part 2. It says over here.
Okay.
The northern person.
Question? Okay, so the recommendation is there. Is anybody want to move it? Moved by Councillor Doherty, second by Councillor Clement. All in favor? And that's carried. Okay, and the next is a stop up and close.
Through you, Mayor Martin. So this is a request to stop up and close and convey a municipal road allowance. It's in the Methuen Ward, concession 2, part lot 25, plan 35, lot 20 and 28, with municipal address of 546 Fire Route 84. And the purpose and effect of this report is to present for the consideration and requisite approval of council or a request to stop up and close and convey a portion of the unopened road allowance. Sorry, I should have put it up there. There we go. Thank you. And the recommendation is that staff provide the applicants and the property owners with the necessary requirements in order to fulfill the stop up and close and convey the unopened road allowance, which is bisecting address 546 Fire Route 84. And we can kind of see the effect of this happening. We have one portion that's above, we have one portion that's below, and in the middle is this unopened road allowance, which funny enough, the dwelling unit is situated. Permits were, I checked the building permit information, very old building permits, if there was even any of them. So this does constitute a legal non-conforming structure that is built on township property pretty much. So basically we have done a planning analysis. I mean, for right now, the approval or the recommendation is that we provide the requirements that are set of requirements that are required for the purchase of it to the property owners and have them advise us what direction they want to take. And that concludes my report.
Okay, thank you. Just one question. So it looks like the property next to it has something on the road allowance too? Huh.
Boats.
Is that what it is?
I don't know.
Through you, Mayor Martin. Yeah, so this was, so the neighboring property owner is a previous applicant of one of these stop ups. So he has been provided with the requirements. And in this step, we'd be providing the requirements to Mrs. O'Donnell.
Okay. All right then. So what's council's thoughts? There's a recommendation here as well.
I don't like making motions on stop up and close, but seeing that there's already a building been erected on it, I'll make the motion to go ahead and approve this recommendation.
All right, so let's move by Deputy Mayor Webb that we approve or we go with the recommendation. Second by Councillor Clement. Question?
And through you, this will go under the new approach to appraisal. We will be instructing the appraiser. Thank you.
Okay. All right then, any other questions? All questions, all in favor? And that's carried. All right, thanks, Arya.
Thanks.
So next on the agenda here, we have 3 staff reports for information. One from Josh with regards to Parks and Rec. one from Peter. Update for June. And Travis Tom's, the department update for June for the building. Official. Any questions around those reports? Councilor Flagler, go ahead.
You, Mayor Martin, this is for Public Works Department. The water supply and drug fill station, when do you expect that to be up and running?
Through you, Mayor Martin, Councilor Flager, that currently I just met with the paving contractor last week. I'm currently waiting for an estimate to come back. All the connections have been made now for plumbing. So we would like it fully and completed paved, and then we will be bringing a report with the cost for approval from council at the next meeting.
Thank you.
Any other questions on this report? If not, I'll for the motion. Go ahead.
No,
Motion to receive the report moved by Deputy Mayor Webb, second. Councilor Flagler, all in favor? And that's carried. Okay, so we'll move into staff reports for follow-up action. And the first on the list is Lionel. In regards to operating budget guidelines. Talk on that. Got a couple of things on here. Well, you can go ahead with the, you're looking for, purposes to report, seek direction from council with regards to 2025 operating budget guidelines and next net tax levy, so. That pretty well says it all.
Thank you, Chair. I think you summed it up nicely.
So the recommendation is the council decides the maximum net tax levy increase percentage or a range of increased percentages for staff to work towards. So it's always a tough one. Everybody go ahead.
Mr. Mayor, I don't think we should be providing a percentage for them to come in. This is an operating budget. So the budget commends to what we need, not what the percentages are. So that's my take on it, is bring it in and we'll see what the numbers are and then go from there, because it is operating, not capital. And this is what we need to keep the roads open, streets clean.
Yeah, okay. Any other comments?
Yeah, I would tend to agree. In terms of a council, it's just from my perspective, I don't really know what these managers need for their departments from year to year, so I don't want to handicap them by putting a range in terms of I think obviously we all kind of know what the range might be, even if we put one out there. I'd like to see kind of the managers take this upon themselves to do the operating budget and bring it back to council. And not have us really, like, obviously we'll make the final decision on things, but in terms of what trucks or what materials they need, I'd like them to kind of go through that exercise on their own.
Okay. All right, so Lionel, if we, it's kind of like what we need is what we need, and then we'll have to decide what we can do, I guess, when it comes back. So it's kind of like leaving it up to staff to, they have in the past been responsible, so we'll have to see how it falls out, and then we'll deal with it when it comes back. Does that work?
Future, that's more than fine. Thank you.
Okay. So the motion is to receive this and leave it up to staff. Second, moved by Deputy Mayor Webb, and second by Councilor Doherty. Other questions? All in favor? And that's carried. Okay, next item here is Canada Community Fund, formerly the gas tax, so.
I'll make a motion to approve it.
Okay, moved by Councillor Doherty, second by Councillor Clement. All in favor? That's carried. Okay, and the next is initiation of the tax sale process, so. Lionel, you can maybe explain that?
Yeah, through you, Chair. The tax sale process, it's changed a lot in, say, the last 5 to 10 years. There was a time where municipalities, when they had properties that hadn't paid their taxes in 3 years or more, initiated a tax sale process, and they kept all of the excess proceeds beyond what was owed in terms of taxes and penalties and interest. And starting in 2018, that excess sale proceeds is kept by the province, is not kept by the municipalities. So from what some people remember, it's changed quite a bit, but the process still remains a vital, in my opinion, tool to collect taxes. And nobody, I think, enjoys the process or looks forward to it. But if there are property owners, taxpayers who are behind in 2 years before January 1st of the current year, this process can be undertaken. And I think everybody's read the report, but the first step after getting a title search done is the registration of a tax certificate. And so after that point, the procedures can be stopped if the amounts are paid in full after that point. So there's no finality to this starting with any of these properties. Once the tax certificate is filed, it's just it progresses from the initiation of the process to the tax certificate being filed. And as you can see, there's quite a large, not large, but a 1-page little flow chart of what happens in terms of sending of notices, final notices, and so forth. So it's there's quite a few legal steps here, which is why the report's saying we would use Real Tax, which a lot of municipalities do use, that firm to carry out these services. They do not work on a percentage basis. There are set fees for various parts of the process. All told, if a property went through from the first step to the final step of the tax sale, it could be up to $2,000. But if the amount owing was $30,000, then it would still be that same amount. So I'm happy to answer any questions. I know it's a fairly lengthy explanation of the process, but I think it's something that after a while municipalities have to do, because if that money isn't coming in for activities, then that money has to be found somewhere else.
Okay. No, go ahead.
So Lionel, these are the ones that we see in the paper where it's for sale by tender by the township or whatever. Well, you see them in the community press, it's the same idea.
Yes, through you, Chair, that is the same idea, yeah.
And I noticed at the bottom, it did say these are fully recoverable, so that's what you're talking about, the excess.
For each year, they are recoverable, but the excess that I was speaking of would be, say, for instance, if property went to tax sale and nobody had paid off the amounts owing, and say it went in sale for $200,000 and the taxes and penalties and interest and fees owing were 50, then the municipality used to be able to keep that extra 150, but they don't anymore.
Who gets the extra?
Through you, Chair, I know the province keeps, they may distribute it to the interest owners of the property, but I'm not sure about that, but the municipalities cannot receive anything other than the amounts owing plus the interest.
So we do the work for the province. Oh, okay,
So yeah, I'll just make a motion to accept it, receive it.
commence the process.
Just for the comment, thank you very much for the report, Lionel, and for the background. Learned a little bit. Something new about tax sales, so lots of good information in there. One more question, how many, if you're allowed to disclose this, how many do we have here in HVM?
Future, it's certainly talking about global numbers, so of course, it'll depend on how successfully final last attempts at collecting, if council so choose that we do send a final letter would be, but I was guessing around 16.
So is it still the same as it used to be as far as like a lot of people just pay the 1 year behind and they just keep doing that to try and keep it from losing it? Is that still an option or?
Future, there are some
That do that.
that do that. I mean, they're paying interest when they do that, but yes, some people, if they fall behind, would probably try to keep it that close.
All right. Okay. Councilor Doherty, go ahead.
Your chair, when the numbers, so it's 16, what would the tax amount be that's outstanding on those 16? And when that number comes out, do the county and the school board get their portion when? Do they get it if we collect it, or they get paid and we get paid? Is that how it works?
Future, they would only receive any sort of portion of that when it got paid.
Yeah, so the percentages apply when the check is received.
Right.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so we have a mover for this that we start the process. Second by Councilor Doherty. All in favor? And that's carried. Okay, thanks, Lionel. Next, Jerry with economic development with regard to the proposed wireless communication site.
Thank you.
Our South Chamber is online, so. Okay.
Good morning, council. Today we're bringing forward a report for the proposed wireless communication site 3819, located at 92 Peninsula Road off of North Shore Road. The purpose of this report is to present to council information concerning proposed wireless telecommunication tower 3819 to be located at 92 Peninsula Road. In addition, it is to confirm the proposed tower complies with the township's communication tower installation policy 24-0319 and to issue a letter of concurrence to Eric Chamber, site acquisition specialist, acting on behalf of Rogers Communications, Inc. And Eric is with us this afternoon. Essentially, that council, we are looking to you to confirm that the proponent Rogers has consulted with the municipality in terms of land use, advise the public of their proposal, and address all reasonable and relevant concerns, keeping and producing all associated communications. So to that point, recommendations are: the council concurs that the required public consultation pertaining to proposed Rogers Communication Inc. Tower Site 3819 has been completed, and that all reasonable and relevant concerns pertaining to the proposals have been addressed. And that the proposed Tower Site 3819 complies with land use requirements, and that Rogers has fulfilled Innovation Science and Economic Development Canada, ICID, formerly Industry Canada, default protocol CPC 2-0-03 as they relate to proposed Site 3819. And further, that the mayor and clerk are hereby authorized to sign the letter of concurrence to permit Rogers to move forward with the installation of proposed wireless communications site 3819. A little bit about the background. Mr. Belchamber, acting on behalf of Rogers, has applied to construct a new 60-meter self-supported telecommunications tower. Coordinates 48.67156-77.922842 as part of the Eastern Ontario Regional Network, EARN, cell gap project. The tower and equipment will be held in a compound area of approximately 15 meters by 15, surrounded by a 2.4 meter high chain link security fence with restricted access, located 38 meters off North Shore Road, located on property identified as 22 Peninsula Road. Based on information provided by the agent, the nearest existing Rogers Tower is roughly 10.1 kilometers away and does not currently provide meaningful service to the area. A copy of the site plan has been attached in the report as attachment 1. The Township of Havelock-Belmont-Methuen is applicable land use authority. Has applicable land use authority for the application, whereas the federal government is the approval authority for the tower. The Township of Havelock-Belmont-Methuen official plan designates the location of the proposed facility as rural. In accordance with Schedule A2 of the Township and Havelock-Belmont-Methuen's Comprehensive Zoning Bylaw 1995-42, as amended, the subject property is currently zoned rural, seasonal residential, and environmental protection. The portion of the property that will house the facility is in the rural zone. The proposed site location is on a treed property with significant setbacks from the waterfront and nearly 600 meters from the closest adjacent residential dwelling to the east, as outlined in the Rogers Site Selection and Justification Report. Again, what's attached. The installation will have no impact on the watershed or the wells, water quality, or water systems. No chemicals, pesticides, or herbicides that could potentially have an adverse effect on the water systems will be contained on the structure or the associated walk-in radio equipment cabinet. Once the site is in service, there will be no noise associated with the daily operation of the installation. A copy of the site selection justification report has been attached as attachment 2. Public notice of intent to construct the tower was circulated by the agent in the Havelock Rail June 2024 edition with no public consultation period, with the public consultation period ending at 5 p.m. on July 2nd. All properties located within the circulation radius of 180 meters were notified. Public notice was also published on our website newsroom and circulated via social media. One letter was received as a result of public consultation process. It is also attached in the report. Mr. Belchamber has provided council with a summary of comments, noting that one report, which I might add was positive comment. Given the foregoing, staff are of the opinion that proposed telecommunications tower 3819 complies with all land use requirements, and Rogers has completed appropriate public consultation and therefore recommends that the letter of concurrence be issued. A draft of that proposed letter has also been included with the report. In terms of financial impact, communication tower application permit fee in the amount of $2,500 was received with the written application form. This report was developed in consultation with our CAO, Bob Angioni, Travis Tom, our chief building official, Arya Hijazi, our planning assistant, and all documents, again, included with the report. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, so this is a big thing in the news. I've had a couple of calls with regards to not doing enough for towers. It was timely, the one that I had last week. Our agenda just came out, so I said to her, you might want to read it. She wondered if she should start hammering us with letters that we're not getting enough towers in our area. I said, we've done very well. Your report last meeting said that we have about 6 applications in our area, or 6 action items. So this one here was timely. So anyways, it's a good report.
Yeah, thank you for the report, Chair. I just make a motion to approve the recommendation with just one question. I see Mr. Reese was here this morning. just the, one submitted the letter. Has anyone spoken to Mr. Reese in terms of whether the answers they given were suffice? I take it the fact that maybe he didn't state a comment on this means that he was okay with what he heard, but I was just wondering.
Through you, Mayor Martin, I had the privilege of speaking with Terry Reese roughly a week ago. He happened to be in the office and we did discuss this. He's a proponent and happy to see that we're working through some of our telecommunication service challenges.
Thank you very much, Sherry.
Okay.
All right, I have a question. You mentioned that we got a NEON report last month and we had 6 towers under review or whatever. I didn't hear that one come up. Did it drop out of the sky or was it not part of their plan or where'd it come from?
At the last meeting, we reported it.
Deputy Mayor Webb gave us an update on Huron's.
Hold on, I got them listed. They're listed in the minutes here, so.
Through you, Mayor Martin, there is some
It's not
confusion.
on, but don't matter, Sherry, there's nobody in.
Through you, Mayor Martin. One of the things that I've noted in working with our telecommunication proponents, and I've spoken to Mr. Bell-Chamber about this, some of these towers have been slated for a number of years and they've moved from different locations, but some of the labeling is somewhat erroneous. For example, this particular tower, I believe, was labeled Barrett's Lake. Is that correct?
Barrett is.
Barrett?
It is on
Yes.
the list. It's one of the 6.
Yes.
Barrett Lake is listed.
So it has moved from where Covia location was originally, because it was slated there.
Oh, I don't care about all the different locations. I just wanted to know why we didn't know about it. I heard about it 4 times before it reached council. And I don't really appreciate getting blindsided by these applications coming in and this, oh, you're getting a tower down there. We are?
Yes.
We are. Well, if it's going in, the paper is getting feedback. I think it would be time that we were notified that we've got something's coming to council on it. So that's one point that I don't care. And it refers to going east of the project. Well, there's nothing east of the project there. It's all to the south and southeast and maybe north. So keeps referring to it. And I think at least one person and maybe 2 have requested that the document be changed from Harcourt to Havelock, and it keeps coming up the same way. So I'm appreciative of the tower. I think it's a good idea, but it sure as heck would have been nice to know about it before everybody told me. Thank you.
Through you, Mayor Martin, just for clarity, having it labeled as Barrett, I think was reported last week. What's really important is the numeral identifier that does not change. And when we're working with the telecommunication proponents, we're careful to always sort of reference the number because it can be very confusing. And I appreciate that that you and other residents
Well,
found.
Brett's Lake's not Peninsula Road.
Through you, Mayor Martin.
You can call it what you want, but they're not the same location. And Covey, it's not the same location as Peninsula Road. So they're moving it around. When they decide where they're gonna go, tell us.
Through you, Mayor Martin, if I could, I'd like to speak to Mr. Bell-Chamber. This is something that I've raised to your attention in terms of communication and how it's misleading to have it labeled that way. I know that you're taking steps to address that. Can you share some background on that and what those steps will be?
Sure. Based on the feedback from you, Sherry, we've renamed a couple of the sites in Havelock-Belmont-Methuen. When the planners in Brampton start looking at locations for towers, they generally choose either crossroads or major landmarks or things like Barrett Lake. And that's where it had initially been intended on the Covia property. Things have changed since. The 92 Peninsula Road location has been put forth. And based on your feedback, we've changed the name of both this one and the 3917 site as well.
So, Mr. Bell-Chamber, just one of the things that we heard through Bjorn about the privacy and the competition thing. From what I understand, that's where a lot of the numbers are used, where site-specific isn't really used until it gets farther into the process. Is that right? Or like when we're hearing about these towers that come Round Lake Road was another example, like by the time it was up, we never knew about it at the council. That it was coming there, but this one here, we've heard in general at the county council from Yorn that we have a few towers in our area that are being looked, or areas that are being looked at. Methuen Lake, you know, and some others were named in there, so but the competition thing and the is that part? We heard something about that. I don't know. Do you remember that part? Maybe I heard it wrong. But it was just something about with the competition with other providers. You like to try and keep it at a certain point until you nail it down that you're going to be going there.
I'm not familiar with that interpretation of the site naming. Sites are named, they're assigned a C code for Rogers. Carriers like TELUS use an ON code and Freedom uses a different code. It has to do with being in the central region of Ontario, and they're assigned a number. As I said, I'm not familiar with anything being misleading intentionally.
Not misleading. That's the way I understood it, but that's fine anyways. Like I say, the people are happy to see towers coming for the most part. There's some that, you know, may have some questions around it, but I think when it comes down to it, we're all looking for better service and, you know.
Are we talking about just in terms of the name? Like, I'm familiar with where this is going back at Jack's Lake, but I know the one on here that's listed as Rockdale, back by our cottage on Belmont.
Right.
It's actually probably half a mile down the road from the actual Rockdale Cemetery. So I'm figuring is they're just grabbing the closest identifiable place to said tower. So it doesn't necessarily mean that, you know, the tower would be in my case, by Want Lake's case, Rockdale. It's probably, is that about a mile down the road in the woods, but Rockdale is closer than Cordova, which is closer than Marmor or Havelock. So I think that's where we're getting these names from. Am I correct with that, Mr. Belchamber?
Yes, that's an accurate assessment of it. As I said, they simply choose generally a landmark or a crossroads. And from there, we may find something very close to that, or based on parcel sizes or willingness of potential landlords, may end up having to move it 500 meters, 1,500 meters, 2 kilometers. And generally, the sites could be named anything. And when we have feedback from townships such as yourselves that you prefer to have it renamed, something a bit more consistent or in line with reality, then we're happy to do so.
Thank you for that.
Thank you. Okay. Any other questions around that? Okay, so the recommendation is here. You made it. Okay. You want a second before you do not have second. Second by Councilor Clement. All in favor? And that's carried. So, all right then. Thank you, Mr. Belchamber, and thank you, Terry.
Thank you.
Driving me nuts.
Okay, so the next item on here is George Street reconstruction. Bob?
Yes, through you, Mayor Martin. So earlier this year, council received a presentation from SEMA Engineering, our project management firm, handling the wastewater treatment expansion project. And it was identified that inflow and infiltration remains a serious problem for the wastewater treatment plant. So as the reconstruction of George Street was tendered, QBT was chosen as the successful applicant to reconstruct George Street. Staff was directed by council to reach out to QBT and get a cost for assisting with the inflow and infiltration problem by connecting laterals, stormwater and sanitary laterals on private property. So we have reached out. We do have a quotation, approximately $5,800 per property on average, with 51 properties located. So this report presents a suggestion to council that we proceed on a voluntary basis for property owners that wish to have this work completed. Council will need to determine whether there is a subsidy or not for any of this work. QBT will bill the township on a per property basis and offer a 1-year warranty for any work they complete.
Okay. It's council's thought. This is one of those things we talked about putting these laterals in, but no incentives to hook up. So what's your thoughts?
Through you, Mr. A question. I believe we have a bylaw on the books now.
Through you, Mayor Martin, there is a bylaw number 2007-12, that prohibits the discharge of stormwater, surface water, groundwater, etc. into the sanitary sewer system.
That's 2007.
2007-12.
Okay. If I may do a follow-up, then we've done several road constructions since then. The council must have given staff direction not to have them done at that time through each road reconstruction, I gather. Is that right?
So the only road that we have these on is Union Street. Is that right? That we did do with the construction, Peter? The laterals that we installed, but we didn't have them set up. Is that, I only remember Union Street, but I might be wrong.
Yes, through you, Mayor, I believe that's correct, yes, and Matheson as well, Union and Matheson, the last two streets that were completed in the village, yeah.
Okay.
So King Street, McLean Road, we're not done, we're done prior to 2007.
No, through you, Mayor Martin, no, I believe there's 2015 King Street was underway, under reconstruction.
But McLean and them were
2016 and
yeah, we didn't do laterals on those ones.
I guess the question is why? What was the logic at that particular time? Because now it seems like we're reinventing the wheel here, and we aren't. It's a 2007 bylaw that we provided relief up to now. So, and what changed on Union Street? Did we pay there? What was there a subsidy? How many were there? Nice to know that information when we're talking about this lateral. I didn't know Union Street was part of the.
I think so. The 2007 bylaw, I think, was created when we were doing the wastewater treatment plan, and we were trying to keep things out of the sanitary sewers. So that's when I think it was created for that. It wasn't created when we did the roads. It was created when we were doing the wastewater treatment plant, because we went around to all the houses. We hired a consultant to go around and look at all the houses and how they were connected. So that's probably where that came from. I'm not sure.
Through you, Mayor Martin, we would have to go back and review. But my opinion on this matter would be that King Street and McLean Street are very high elevated, where George Street is down in the water table, and the water table is very, very close to the surface, along with Union and Matheson in places as well. So I think the water table is very, very close to the surface in those streets. So my opinion would be that's why they didn't.
Well, you would need relief from council to not do it. Would you not when it's in a bylaw?
Through you, Mayor Martin, I'd look for some help on that answer.
Oh, I don't know. Do we? I mean, it's a bylaw.
Through you, Mayor Martin, I was not here when those projects occurred. However, the process would be if there was a cost included in the cost of those construction projects, then at that point, if it did not proceed, then that would be a council decision.
So the thing where you see a lot of sump pumps and things like that, at the time, we even had things like freezers that were draining into it through some of our establishments. That's what that consultant pulled out, and we got them taken out of the sanitary sewer. Some pumps, they were recommended at least go on the ground, but not, we just didn't want any more into the sanitary sewer. So that's all that bylaw was for, was to try and keep filling up our sanitary sewers with groundwater. So this Union Street, I think, like you say, it was a low street. So somebody brought it into the plan to look at putting laterals in there, but we never put anything with it to encourage people to use it. Where that's what
hookups in there.
There's on Union, there is.
No, how many on Union were hooked up?
Through you, Mayor Martin, I don't have that information with me today.
And did the council at the moment provide subsidies to Union Street?
No, and that's where this is coming from, is that we learned from that because of the cost, not a lot of people took advantage of, using it. And this was where the discussion came for this one, from what I remember, is we didn't get any takers on that. We might have to come up with some sort of a way to encourage people, and that would be to help with this. And I think that's what this recommendation is saying, is that you know, we can come back if we find a source that we can help encourage them to use these things. Even something like the gas tax that we were talking about earlier, when you've seen some of the uses that it got used for when we were doing the streets, you know, something like that could have been used to as part of the construction. But I think this is leaving us an opportunity to look for some funding with it, the way the motions wrote here, to see if there is a way of encouraging people to hook up, whether it's a grant or some help in some way. I don't know. That's the way I read it. Bob?
Through you, Mayor Martin, the report notes that funding would be drawn from the ONPF reserve and the administrative reserve. If grant opportunity comes along, it may be too late, given that the work will have to commence when the road construction begins.
And that's an opportunity, because there's a lot happening right now with regards to infrastructure help. That's a big thing right now. We're going to read about it later too. This is a thing that we need some help, and you know, using our grants that maybe were for something else or something like this. It's helping our infrastructure. We can encourage using these laterals, even the ones that are out there that didn't get used. They can still be used, but there's a cost to them too, and probably more expensive, because if you do it during construction, you would think it would be cheaper, but I don't know. They still got to dig right up to the house, right? So. You know, we have the cost here. It's just how far do you go with it?
Well, through you, Mr. Mayor, moving forward, what's the word? Sort of my goal, at least, to get some of this done in terms of during the construction. It seems like we're gonna be hard pressed to coerce, suggest to these people that they need to hook up to the system, where when we've done, it seems 2 or 3 other streets, and we never asked anybody else to hook up to the system, right? So we're really in the soup here. And we got to deal with it. Like, I don't know. I wasn't around with this too. I don't understand where a bylaw comes out in 2007, but there was no real work being done or anything. So what was the impetus for bringing the bylaw forward? You referenced the wastewater treatment plant. So did the council of the time just pass a bylaw so that we could get the wastewater treatment plant built? Like, that's kind of what it seems like here.
It was to help deal with the infiltration problem.
But we're not really dealing with it. We're just passing a bylaw saying we are, but we're not enforcing said bylaw.
If we find them through camera checks that they're against the bylaw, if they're connected to the sanitary sewer, you've seen them when you're doing camera checks as far as water going into the sanitary sewer at certain times, have you not?
Mr. Mayor, I believe through Aqua, they did that when they repaired 2021, I believe they did a bunch of repairs at that time, yes.
So that bylaw could be enforced when that's seen, right?
Through you, Mayor Martin, I think if my memory serves me right, they wanted to come back and do some more smoke testing and do some more investigations to find out who is connected with a sump pump to the main lines.
So just a point of clarity through you, Chair. We did the bylaw because of the sewer plant. And is it not back up on top of the table now because we have another sewer plant problem? Because we have an infiltration problem? So we put the bylaw in to help correct or to do whatever in 2007. Now we have the same problem in 2024. We have seepage going in. So will we just pass another bylaw and get us by another 24 years or 17 years? Like, I don't understand. And if we're waiting for somebody to say, please spend some money to hook up to the laterals, it'll never happen. You know, it's too expensive. And the other thing is, I think it's just terrible that the two quotes are that far apart. Like, that's $250,000, they're apart. Like, wow. Anyway, that's my dime.
Yeah, just through Mr. Mayor, obviously there's been there's questions around the past history of what's gone on here in terms of moving forward. Based on the report from staff. I don't know, I'll throw it down. Is there a way we could suggest writing a letter to the people on George Street, telling them, you know, of what we're doing here, and obviously suggesting to them that we'd like them to hook up to the system. I don't think there's any way we can really force them to at this point, or you know, but do you mind?
Yep.
We got to get this started at some point, right? So either do you want to do, if you want to do like just like you said, put a letter out there, let people know what's going on, hopefully. Go ahead, Bob.
So through you, Mayor Martin, absolutely. So the recommendation in the report is to do just that, is to approach the residents on a voluntary basis. The question becomes, is council prepared to pay for this work, or are the residents paying for the work?
Councilor Clement?
Could we not offer them the incentive of financing it on their taxes?
And I think that's part of the discussion.
But again, council would have to pay the bill and then finance it through their taxes.
Well, and the bigger issue here is that it's been expanded today is we're dealing with George Street. That's just George. There's a whole lot of other streets here that, as we found out today, are in the same situation. So why would I ask someone on George Street to hook up to a system when I never asked somebody on King Street or Donald Street? That's the situation that I'm in, right? So and I think we're all in.
Yeah, so kind of to go along with it, like we're working, go ahead, Beth, go ahead.
Although, that's okay, through you, Mayor Martin. I think we should all step back a bit here, because it's the infiltration of the water, which is rainwater, stormwater, that's making our lagoon not to be able to handle things, right? So if we did and put the storm thing and nobody hooks up, is that gonna fix that problem? No. Is it, or is it not? Because if it's not gonna fix that problem, then everybody has to sign up. It's not a choice. It has to be done. Whether the subsidy, we can look into subsidizing it, maybe cutting the cost in half, making an initiative, you know, like $1,000 or 1,500, you know, it's gonna cost $3, but we'll cover that half and then look for a grant. I'm not sure, but I'm just saying, like, we have to do something or we're into millions with our water.
Oh, wait, yeah.
We're into millions
Sorry.
doing that, so they're either gonna get that done now, or they're gonna be increased in their taxes and considerably.
Just for consideration, the number we got, whether it's 300 or say 550, is for George Street only.
Yes.
So extrapolate that out over by the other streets we haven't done.
Yes, but was Donald Street not done with the laterals? All the streets have been done in town. They all have the laterals. It's just nobody's hooked up to it. Correct?
Through you, Mayor Martin, I'd have to check in on Donald Street, but I do know that King and McLean, I do not believe.
Well, I have a W on my sidewalk, a
Yeah,
W and a green. Oh, water?
Yeah, there'll be 3 laterals going to your property. It'd be a storm, a sanitary, and a water service.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
But that being said, I think the recommendation here is allowing us to look for funding, like you say, we can look and see if there's something there. We could talk like grants and things like that. Maybe there is a grant system we can come up with, and I think to the deputy mayors, we have to look at union at the same time. If we're gonna create a grant system to help with this process, whether, like you say, it's if we could find half of the cost to be put into it, union would have to be looked at too, because we did put the laterals in there, and we would have to give them the same opportunity. That being said, whether 50% is gonna cut it, because it's still $2,500, and they may say, well, what's it matter to me? They're not understanding that all this money that we're putting into our wastewater treatment plant, like the other side of George Street, we're hoping is gonna help when we do all of the pipes in the ground. That's gonna help with some of the infiltration. This is a bonus though with the, if we could get the rainwater taken away too. It's the ones that are connected to the sanitary sewer that bylaw was talking about, and we found lots of them when we did that check. And that's why it was created to stop people. But if we're not enforcing it, back to your, if we haven't been enforcing the bylaw, maybe that's what we need to look at with these smoke tests you're talking about and things like that. And we need to identify the properties that are filling the sanitary sewers, so. But for today,
What the big complaint's gonna be is we'll do George Street and not have them hooked up. Then there'll be a problem and we'll hook it up and we're gonna tear George Street up 2 years after it's done. People say, why would you have done something like that? And this is to kind of prevent that type of feedback, is that do it once, do it. But I agree with Deputy Mayor Webb, this is precedent setting here. This is 51 units of how many houses we have in Havelock, because all these are going to have to eventually be done. And you do a local area assessment. There's many, like, how many places have a charge for that for it? So we're not reinventing the wheel here. We just didn't execute the bylaw.
so the connections are in the lawns, right? When the construction's done, we're not tearing the road up again, even on Union Street, they're probably out at the edge of the.
Yeah, so through you, Mayor Martin, I can maybe clarify a little bit. So when the main line's done, sanitary, storm, water's all done, there'll be the 3 services right to the edge of the property. So it'll be just on the inside of the sidewalk and in the perfect world. And then from there, it's all private. So they'll be able to come and dig on the private side. We won't be digging in the street to make the connection. The connection will be there. And as well to that, in all the meetings, the pre-construction meetings, if there is a line in the ground, say a resident does have a lateral storm, sanitary and water there, and they've tied it into the sanitary at the property line, they will correct that and tie it into the right storm lateral at the property line. So if that helps clear it up, and that's just part of the, but this is if they don't have any laterals other than the storm, or other than the sanitary and water going from the property line to the house. But if the resident has the 3 and they're connected to storm and sanitary at the property line, they will rectify.
And then on the other roads, a lot of the sanitary and water were done at the owner's expense, because once we don't cover anything on the property side of the property owner's side of the line, we cover anything under the street. But there was a lot of them had to get new water services put in and things like that while they were in there. Then it was cheaper for them to do it while the construction company was there, if I remember right.
Yeah, it's three Mayor Martin. I think that's, and that maybe it's why some of the pricing is different.
Yeah.
Maybe not, that's a bit extreme. I do agree with Council Majority, but if the equipment is there and they already have it excavated to the property line, that's the time when that, but if you have to, remobilize all the equipment after the construction, and then the cost is gonna be higher. So when the equipment's sitting there, and some of the properties don't have hardly 2 feet to the building, depending on the location. Some have 30, 40 feet to get to the resident or the house, so there was quite a variation of length of private property for the laterals to be extended to.
So that's where that estimate comes in, because there is some that they're going to be doing the water or sewer line anyways, because they're going to find a problem when they're doing the road. And if they do it all together, that price might be different. So that's what we'll have to really investigate on the how much that is, because if there's a property that's already going to be paying for water and sewer corrections while they're in there, like I don't know if you had to when they did your street, but there's a lot of them had to. And this part of it here is just an addition to that part. When yourself, sometimes they're all in the same line, like they can fix them all at the same time. So
Yeah, I think you can maybe address it. It was mine was just about the discrepancy in the estimates in terms of 300,000, but that's
Yeah.
probably what you were getting at in terms of they don't know the range of the work, but it is a big range.
Yeah.
It's double, so 300,000.
And one was
Would make me feel a lot happier.
from a company we use on a regular basis. The high one.
Yeah, well, yeah, we can get into that at another time. I'm just looking at the basic prices here. But moving forward, I think, I think it's something that we have to look at doing. So whether the recommendation here, I think as part of the recommendation, a letter to the homeowners or property owners in
Correct,
terms of what we're doing.
correct.
And
Letter.
what would be said in said letter that we're examining how we're gonna fund this, or like we're going ahead with this and examine, or
Well, I think the original intention of the letter would be to explain exactly what's going to happen. So, A, would you like this done on your property? And B, you're gonna pay for it or the township's gonna pay for it,
or a combination thereof,
or a combination thereof.
which hasn't been decided as of yet.
Correct.
And this is just the sanitary sewer hookup, so.
Sorry, and through you, Mayor Martin, I mean, there isn't a lot of time to send a letter out and say, we're thinking about this. I mean, this work is going to start. So we will need to know what our plan is.
Well, we need to get moving on this. So I know you staff has been waiting because they've obviously been doing tons of reports on this. So in order to get the letter out to the people, I'll make a motion that we accept the recommendation and move ahead with examining funding options or whatever. I guess I don't know if we refer to this as a budget. I guess we might have to deal with this before budget even, right? So.
Well, just for clarification, through you, are we writing in the letter that the township is covering this cost?
We're writing that we haven't decided on who's covering the cost. I think what you kind of phrased it is, we're in the process of determining whether it's the homeowner or we are covering the cost or it's a shared cost.
Well, through you, Mayor Martin, that may delay a decision on the homeowner's part. I think they're gonna come back to us and ask, are we gonna fund this or not? The other portion of this is we don't have to do all of George Street all at once. This will happen in portions. So as the construction begins at the arena end of George Street and comes towards the post office, this is going to be done in sections. And I think, Peter, you can elaborate on that.
Yeah, you probably saw my hand motions going, but yeah, that's just something that we can possibly find future funding for, like, in this year's budget coming for next year's portion of George Street and so on forth down the road, whether it be an OMPF or a new grant that's come out or something like that. But I do agree with Deputy Mayor Webb that there is probably funding that we can apply to this, but at this time, as Bob's saying, we are kind of short for time for this section.
So we're working on the first phase and there could be 20 properties in the first phase or 10 properties. So that's what we're looking at right now.
That's right.
Hypothetically, one of those would be Peterborough Housing.
For you,
yeah,
yes.
And can you see them paying?
They may be hooked up right already, so hard to say, right?
Yeah, through you, Mayor Martin, I know they'd have water and sewer, but I don't believe there'd be a storm there.
Okay, so yeah, with the new construction, it could be a part of it.
I'm thinking more of the old construction. Well, I don't know how we can subsidize something on somebody else's property, because that's what we're talking about, paying for the hookup, because we're already paying for it to get to the lot line, are we not? So now we're gonna pay to put it to the house. Is that what the motion is saying?
I don't know, what's the motion saying?
Well, he's taking it from your report here, so.
No, the report is asking for council to clarify whether there is funding or not.
Yeah, well,
yeah.
And there's not funding at the moment, right?
Wait, reserves. But no, yeah, in terms of grant money.
We gotta look at the wheelbarrow lately, because we're approving projects, 5.5 million of all diamond. We're doing all sorts of things and we've probably used this fund about 3 times.
Okay.
Through you, Mayor Martin, I think going forward, do we want everyone hooked up to these sewer? Yes. If we don't, then just let it go. But I mean, we're back and forth, like who's gonna pay, oh, they're not gonna pay, you don't know that. So I would give out the letter, let them know that they're gonna have to be hooked up to the, what do you call it? I'm sorry, sewer, storm?
Storm ladder, yeah.
Yes, the storm lateral, and see what happens. I mean,
But who's paying? Are they gonna pay? We paying? That's what Bob's asking.
you know what, when they did the roads on Donald Street, they came around and asked anybody if they wanted their driveway done. It was a discounted price, right? So if you want those laterals done, then it's a discounted price. So if the company's gonna charge 3,000 or whatever, then it should be a discounted price to the property.
Well, that's a good point, Councillor Flagler, in terms of maybe that's what's put in the letter is that this needs to be done. The company will be doing it while the construction's going on at your property.
Oh.
And I guess we can, some people might not think whatever that price is discounted, but we know it's discounted, right? So say, yeah, if you don't, I know it's expensive, but if you don't do it now, it's gonna be twice as much and you're still gonna have to do it.
That's right, yeah. Yeah, either way, they're gonna have to, if they choose not to and they want another company in there to
I
do
kind
it,
of
then they
agree
can go.
that when we get into the fact that I kind of forgot, it's nice that all of you pointed out that we're doing this in sections. So we don't need the 55 right off the bat. So maybe if we do this in the first block and see how many stones are cast, you know, to feel
like a
things out,
discount.
and maybe we can.
That they're doing the work at a discounted price and just beware that it's coming.
Yes.
We're saying if they're not gonna ever get it any cheaper than they're going to get it at the time of construction.
Yeah.
Basically.
Right?
Councillor Clement just said she was forced to do it.
Forced to pay when they
No
built my
choice in
house.
people,
Yeah,
so-
exactly, like.
I gotta notice that here's your bill.
Yeah.
So yeah, I guess I'll make that motion, then I'll take the heat.
Okay, sorry, and
Second.
just for clarity, the motion is that this is mandatory, must be done on every
Yes.
property,
Yep,
okay?
the construction will be beginning. You know, whenever it is, and the contractor will be on site to do the hookup for you at, you know,
Discounted price.
what we see is a discounted price, because otherwise, yeah, you're gonna have to bring somebody else in that doesn't have the thing dug up and everything else, so it might be beneficial to have this done at this moment rather than have it done in the future, because it will need to be done.
And who's paying for this?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay, so it's a mandatory hookup with the homeowner paying.
At a discounted, yeah, with the homeowner paying and we see it as a discounted price.
Sorry, so I think that's one of the reasons I asked, because I think in Peterborough, yeah, I remember we built our house back in 80 or whatever, but I do think the township paid and we had to pay it anyways, but you had an option of either paying in full or you could spread it on your first tax bill or something. They did give you an option,
and
but I had to pay it.
That's the stuff we're gonna look at.
that's something we're gonna have to look at moving forward, but just in terms of moving this forward, how we're gonna collect the money out, we can talk about after.
Right,
Or
so
what
yes,
rate.
and through your memoir, just to clarify, QBT will not chase homeowners
No.
for money,
No,
so we will have to pay
Yes.
and then be
No,
reimbursed.
Understood,
Okay,
understood.
right.
But the bigger thing for me is what I'm hearing from the public is that we don't know what these people are putting into their backyards or whatnot, right? Like, I know we think it's just kind of basement water or excess water. But people I've talked to are concerned about people dumping chemicals or whatever that will leach through and get into the water tables. Not even the wastewater plant, it'll get into your water system and head over to the water plant. So if we're trying to be somewhat environmentally friendly or environmentally protective, I think it's only, you know, makes common sense for us to have these hooked up into a system where they're gonna be treated properly, not just go into the groundwater.
Have you got nothing for you in there, Bob? Yep. That's made by Deputy Mayor Webb. And you can still keep looking and working on this, but it'll let things get moving.
Is there a second?
I do not have a second.
I'll do a second.
Okay. No, Councilor Flagler? Any other questions around it? All in favor? That's carried. Okay. Thanks, Peter. Well, the next item on here, in terms of reference to the Heritage Committee.
Yes, you remember, earlier this year, council directed that staff draft a terms of reference for a possible heritage committee to be established in the township. So this report presents those terms of reference for council's consideration.
Okay, so I think I was the one that brought this forward, and it's something that I've heard for all my time on council, that we need a good heritage committee, and this is an opportunity to kind of understand where we're at. We have one right now. It's just to understand more and have some more representation there. So good job on the terms of reference.
Thank you.
Councillor Doherty, go ahead.
So even, or I just want to apologize to the Heritage Committee because I was of the original opinion that this was an umbrella of HBM. Now, when we made the comments on it, it is not. So, okay, so that makes a big difference.
Okay. Right, Councillor Clement.
Okay, can I make a comment and then I'll make a motion, I think? So all of us, I mean, all of us are on committees, youth committee, library, Matheson, whatever. We all have committees. We're using taxpayers' money to have our meetings or whatever. I think for the sake of, transparency and accountability, I do believe that we need a really good board. I do. I think it's vital to our community. These are artifacts that I think belong to the community or whatever, they need to be shown. So let's have a proper committee and let's set it up going forward.
Okay, in terms of artifacts, what are we talking about?
Well,
Artifacts?
we're not talking about items that have been donated to or given to the Heritage Committee, things that come from our background, our history.
They were given to the Belmont-Methuen Historical Society. It has nothing to do with this committee. This is a heritage committee for HBM.
Is this not the same thing?
Not as I understand it, this is a new heritage committee for HBM, which I'm confused about because I don't really see in terms of reference. I asked the CAO, but what's the purview? Like what is the purpose of this heritage committee? What will we be
Is
doing?
it not like a historical society?
I don't know. I read the report. I don't know. That's what I'm asking.
That's.
So what I see from it, it would be something that's recognized by the township, not like the other one there, we recognize it, but it's a personal, like she has said a few times, that it's her stuff. So we need one that the school can come and look at the stuff. A proper one, the same as our neighbors all have, that's puts this stuff out for the public to see, and we need to control it as a township, because some people do give stuff. I remember Ron had a trophy for a soccer club. I don't know where that is now. But he donated it to the soccer club at one time, but I don't know where it went. But it was, somebody gave something, and some people have stuff that they want to show. The same as we see with Marmor and Norwood and all the others, Bureau that, so hopefully this group would come in with the township one. If not, we'll at least be in the right direction, because if it's not our stuff or whoever's stuff that is, it shouldn't be in our building if it's personal stuff. And that's kind of, we should invite them actually here to talk to us as a delegation and explain where they're at, because they've been in the basement of the library for a year now, and I haven't seen it open yet. So this would help that.
I'll make a motion that we invite the group to come to the next meeting.
Okay,
Yeah,
that's good.
I think that should have been first.
That's good.
Okay, all right.
Okay,
I'll go for that.
so moved by Deputy Mayor Webb and seconded by Councillor Flagler that we invite the what are they called? The Belmont-Methuen
Historical Society.
Okay, Historical Society. Invite them to our next meeting to explain where they're at with the process and what they think of this. But this here would be a thing, I think, like you said, that we would have somebody on this committee, the same as we do our other committees, and we would know what's going on.
Well, we would give them funding probably too, right, to help with open houses or whatever.
Yeah, there would be things.
Well, yeah.
No, I understood. Those discussions have been had with the committee, but the committee is, I'll be quite honest with the committee, is afraid of this council taking over the committee and running it a different way that it's been run for many years now. It's open to this committee in terms of whether they think that's better. But when we get into stuff, start talking about property of these organizations, that's where I have a real problem with it, because there's comments being made about this is our stuff, and nobody's proved to me this is our stuff. These people have been in possession with it. They have documentation of the people that gave it to us. So I don't understand why we're throwing terms around about our stuff, because it's not our stuff.
Okay, well, they can bring their documentation and they
Exactly.
they can make business case to us.
But I don't think we should be going around saying it's our stuff when you don't have any proof that it's your
So
stuff.
if it's not our stuff, that's what we need to clarify. But for today, the idea of this committee is to have a proper committee of council for our heritage. While we have some of these people around still that can kind of explain where it came from and things like that. And that's what I was hoping when, when this thing opened in the library, that our school is going to be going over there and seeing this stuff, whoever's it is. I don't care whose it is. But we need to have a member of council on, like, the name is just the name, the Heritage Committee. If it's the Havelock-Belmont-Methuen Historical Society, well, it should be a committee of council. The name is nothing. It should be a committee of council. There should be a representative from council on that committee and some public people. It should go through the same process all our other committees do, where the people come and they apply for it and they go on it and they help us. So
just for clarification, I was under the impression that the Belmont, the Historical Society that's currently there in the basement of the library was to have the use of the basement of the library too. I've been made aware that they've been confined to 2 back rooms in the basement, and the open area where you walk in the basement is used for library.
Okay, can I make a clarification on that? So if you put it out in the open, it's not under lock and key. They did have a meeting, I believe our previous public works or our previous parks manager was at it. They were asked, do you want under lock and key? They said yes. That's why they took the other rooms at the back. I mean, if they wanted to have it open, the person's there.
Okay, that's fine. It was just, it was
enjoy-
portrayed to me that, because I asked the question, why is the stuff not out in this area? And they were told they're not allowed to use this area. They were to use these 2 rooms back there. That's okay. When they come next week, we can
That's
hash it all out. So,
Okay.
Yeah.
Because it needs to be under lock and key.
yeah, I'll get the answers when they show up.
yeah. So the motion is that we invite them, and that was moved and seconded. So I'll just call a question on that part of it. All in favor? And that's carried. So, and the next part of this, we can wait for this. We can defer this here until after we talk to them. I think that might be better. Let's talk to them and see, what they feel about this. I did try to talk to them at their fundraiser they had down the road here, and they asked questions about it. So maybe they don't understand it. But we can explain to her what this is all about. It's not to push them aside. It's to work together as a community to show off what we have, because we have a lot of nice stuff, or they have a lot of nice stuff, whoever's it is. It needs to be seen. So let's invite them to the next meeting, and then we'll deal with this terms of reference. And we can give it to them at that meeting that they can read it over and see if it fits. Okay. So a motion to defer the terms of reference, I guess, would be in order. Moved by Councillor Doherty, second by Councillor Clement, all in favor, and that's carried. Okay. The deposit return program, the hockey has finished the term of it, Don?
Yep, through you, Mayor Martin, the deposit return program is now due for renewal. The hockey group, their contract has concluded. So it's time to put out an advertisement and seek a new group, a new partner to work with.
That motion to approve.
Okay, moved by Deputy Mayor Webb, second Councillor Flagler. All in favor, and that's carried. I just wonder if we could make a motion to send a letter to the hockey and thank them for their work that they did on that. And the new people need to understand it's a lot of work. It's not just collecting the money every week. It's I've seen them in there quite regularly, organizing and sorting. And if we could send a letter just thanking hockey for their year, and I think they can apply again if they want to, right? Like, it's not.
Yep, through you, Mayor Martin, they certainly can apply again.
Okay. All right then. So a motion to write a letter to hockey, moved by Deputy Mayor Webb, second Councillor Clement. All in favor? Carried. Okay, all right, correspondence, action items. Up here, next Peter. So, request from Eastern Ontario Warden's Office here. This is a good thing.
We got this, yeah, I'll make a motion.
Okay, moved by Deputy Mayor Webb, second by Councillor Clement. Any questions or comments? All in favor?
Which one did you just pass?
That was just the OWC.
Yeah.
Okay, for the grants and stuff, but okay. The next item here is the request from baseball for funding. So Cheryl Levesque had wrote, they've got a number of things going on. They're doing really well in the baseball and so they're gonna be doing car washes and things like that. Like they did last time, and this is just something that, you know, if there's anything we can help with, so.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, yeah, the council always tries to support, you know, our minor sports in this town, especially when they're going to events, like this. I consider these young men to be ambassadors for our town when they travel to these tournaments. They represent Havelock very well, so it would be nice if we could, you know, help them out a little bit here. What I was thinking in discussions with the CAO in terms of, I know, I believe we just spoke about the 6-line bottle money, cut off with hockey at July 1st, I believe.
That's correct.
So we've been collecting it since July 1st.
That's correct.
So what I was suggesting is maybe, depending on the amount we decide to donate, if we do, that could be taken out of the bottle fund, seeing that we're collecting it now and haven't yet selected a new proponent to do bottles for next year. In the meantime, while we're collecting that money, from what I've seen in terms of the last report there, I imagine in two or 3 months, probably even 2 months, we'd have more than enough money to make a nice donation to the team. So I'll put that out there to the rest of the council.
Agreed. I'll second the motion.
Yeah, well, yeah, well, but in terms of we needed a dollar figure, so that's where the money come from, but in the letter there, she's thrown a couple different numbers in terms of entry fees. One's 500 and one's 1,300, so I don't know.
Whoa. Yeah. It's just a question. So what fundraising have they done already? Because normally when hockey, soccer, all of those programs, like I believe when the hockey class went over to Germany, they fundraised themselves for that trip.
Yep.
I don't believe a township gave any money for that. Like, I'm not understanding why we are fundraising, like we're giving them money. Like, because they should be just fundraising on their own to cover those.
I think they are, right? But I think there's more costs to it, and they were just reaching out. Like, we don't have to give them money.
It's pretty hard to fundraise for something that you don't know you're gonna go to until you're gonna go to it.
Well, they've had to have known that they were going to this for a while.
No, you have to win your way on it.
Yeah.
I just found out a couple of weeks ago.
I understand that, but they knew what they were going to try and win. So they know.
So the letter, like when she emailed me this, they had just won, I think, on that weekend or something like that. And that's why it says we won. So like Councillor Doherty's saying, they just found out recently that they were gonna be going to this. So they started some of the fundraising they got, like the car wash is happening on the 20th. I think they had a bucket of, there's some other things that I've seen on social media that they're trying to do, and I think they're ramping it up now that so as the deputy mayor said, we don't have to give any money, but we've done it before. We have done it with other groups for something like this. So it's up to us, and that's a good start as far as the
well, we're not really using taxpayer money. This is money that's gonna go to
just from the
organization, just like baseball. Could go to soccer, could go to anybody if they put their hand up and ask.
So it's from the bottle returns right now, so you know, You can put an up to on there if you want, or you can just say whatever comes in.
Well, the way I look at it is if we wanted to, we got a consensus here, we could just vote that the bottle drive goes to baseball for the next 3 months and that would cover it off. They'd have more than that, right? So.
Yeah, it's just they're not doing the work too. That they don't. try to-
No.
So it doesn't really give you a lot of information here. How many kids are going? It says here that each player's cost is $100. So how many kids are going?
I think for that would be 13. The 1,300 covers off 13 kids. It's $100 for each kid. That covers their.
Right, so
their
we're.
baseball, their lodging and their food, I believe, I think that is the summer. It's one of those two. Summer games, one of the two tournaments.
1,500, you said?
One is 1,300 entry and the other is, because it's all inclusive, as I said, the kids go and stay at a dormitory.
Yeah.
So there's accommodations and food provided for them.
Right.
That's, I believe, the 1,300 and then the 500 is just a standard tournament where the parents would take them and they would go on their own. So the parents would stay in a hotel or they were responsible for their own food and accommodation, stuff like that.
Right, right. So we're gonna help pay for the parents' hotels and their
No.
meals and gas?
It's the
No.
registration.
I don't see, where's the registration on there? I'm sorry. I'm not getting.
I thought it was 500 for one. Sorry, I'm still in the,
I see
trying to
one
get down to
number,
it here.
that's all I see. Just says each player's cost is $100.
Yeah, okay, it is different than the way it was explained to me. The way it was explained to me is they're going to the summer games in London. So that must be where it is. So the summer games, I think, is the one she told me the entrance fee was 1,300, which would be, 1,300, which would be 13 players at $100.
Okay.
That's the one where, as I said, they receive accommodations, food. The tournament, the Canadians in Quebec, I believe, are the other ones that I thought she referenced. The entrance fee for that was 500, but I don't see it.
Just a big.
850. So,
So these are two separate events.
yeah.
August 1st, 4th, and 6th. How much, sorry, 3, how much did we give them 2 years ago?
I don't know if we gave them any money 2 years ago. What we did do is we purchased the sign that's down on the backstop at the baseball field that has Ontario champions. So we purchased that sign for them that year. That was kind of, but to Councillor Doherty's point, the same with that year, it all happened very fast. So like, by, at this time, nobody knew they were going to Nova Scotia at that point. And then within 2 weeks, they'd won or whatever, and then they were off to Nova Scotia a week or two later. So it all happens pretty fast. So, and to this point, whether it's 1,300 or 850, we don't have to give the whole amount. If you just want to give them $100 or nothing,
Right.
that's
so
fine
this will Be
too.
up to all activities then. So if the school wants to go somewhere, minor hockey wants to go up to the Silver Stick, that's in, right? And then we're gonna get together and donate and give money.
They can come here and
Right?
ask exactly.
Yes, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Well, just to that point, and I understand, because I understand that in terms of when I was younger, to your point, Councillor Flagler, we always fundraise as well. Some of these communities are in situations where even when you run fundraising, the funds aren't going to be there. They're kids, I'm sure you experienced this with soccer. Kids that their parents don't have the money to send them to these. So, and from what I've heard with some of these tournaments is that there are teams that qualify for these tournaments from areas like ours that don't go to them because they can't afford the fees. So in effect, the kid's gone out, done everything he's done, won the championship, yet he can't go to the tournament because they don't have enough money to go. And I don't want to put our kids in that situation, especially when they're doing something, as far as I'm concerned, they're ambassadors for this community when they're out in other communities. So, I understand where you're coming from. I completely do. And if I was in Peterborough or Toronto, I would probably have a completely different outlook on it. I'm not, Havelock. Okay, we're a small town. We're trying to do what we can for the people of this town, especially the kids. So in this case, yes, I might make an exception.
So Bob,
Just to clarify for council, in August of 2022, the motion was that the upset limit of either a donation or some sort of in-kind would not exceed $1,000. And the township purchased 2 signs, one for the U9 group and one for the U15 group. Total cost was $926.60, so almost right on. And those are displayed at the park now.
And just to that, maybe that's something, if we don't want to give them the upfront money, then maybe this is something we can commit to the same way, and that we can buy them another sign for this year after they come back from the Canadians or the summer games. In terms of, because that's what we've done before. I would just like to give them something, because as has been portrayed to me is that while some do have, some on this team do not. So.
And it's expensive to go on these things. You go to a tournament just for the 3-day ones.
So for today, though, we could look at, like, the can thing is it's not coming out of the taxpayers' money, like, I mean, like, it is in a way, but I mean, it's just, it's kind of an easy thing that if we took the next 2 months, can returns there and,
well, it's what we
tried
decided
what
what
it
it is to help.
Yeah.
In situations like this, all these groups that come to us looking for money that we always obviously had to take out of taxpayer money, that's what that's there for. As to me, at least, to help a lot of these other groups, whether it's soccer, minor baseball, minor hockey, right? That's just my purview of what some people might think of it differently.
Yeah.
Yes, through you, Mayor Martin. I agree. Then maybe baseball would like to operate that for the next 3 or 4 months. That would cover the cost of their trip. Can we approach them that way, or do we have to have it advertised?
Through you, Mayor Martin, we do not have to advertise it if council wishes to offer it up to the baseball group.
There you go.
Until we get somebody in place, if you took the next 2 months, but I don't know that they have the volunteers to.
Well, now we can't be making excuses
Well,
for
no.
everyone.
No, I'm
If
just,
they want to go to this, they'll find the volunteers for it.
okay,
Yeah.
okay, so. So the motion would be that we ask them if they would like to take 2 months, 3 months, whatever it is, like, when is the
Whatever,
thing?
however.
Well, well, we had the.
July and August.
Yeah, the printout from, I think the 6-month thing we had there before was what, $3,500?
Yeah,
I think.
$3,800.
So what are you looking at giving? Are we looking at giving them 500? Because to me, if we're in the range of 500 or even 1,000, you might only be a month or 2, right? It's not gonna be that long, especially in the summertime, because we're.
If it's strike on, I don't imagine it's,
Strike.
well, there might not be as many empties.
Now I'm not understanding. Sorry, I'm not understanding. You're saying they can only fundraise so much? Just
I'm
give
not
it
an
to them for the rest of the summer and let them pay for it.
Okay. Okay, well, no, but I was, okay, well, that's even probably, yeah, that's more generous. See, I was gonna throw out a number in terms of, say, if we want to give them 500 or 1,000, as I said, we can take that out. There would still be money left in that. If you want to give it to them for 2 months, then there's probably gonna be more than $1,000. So if you're okay with giving them that, then that's fine with me.
Okay.
Okay, okay. So,
How long are we giving it for?
so I'll make a motion that we donate the proceeds of the bottle return to minor baseball for July and August of 2024.
So just clarification, is minor ball working the program, or are we just collecting and donating the money?
Still collecting.
They're working it.
They're working.
Oh, okay,
Okay.
We're not working it. They
okay.
Okay. Oh.
want to fundraise for it, make the money.
Well, we're gonna give them July and August. Today's the 16th, I believe. They have an organization. They're gonna have to kind of get their stuff together. I don't have any problem doing that for August. And I think it's good if they have skin in the game, because they can maybe manufacture more MPs by getting hold of their membership to make sure they send them there. Well, because we're gonna advertise it, and we only have 1 meeting in August, so it's going to be probably September, but before we would get around to selecting a committee.
Correct.
But we're currently still collecting, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
So as of July, like there's money sitting there right now
Mhm.
that obviously we're in control of, but that they can have. And I'm guessing here, maybe I'm hoping I'm right, but 2 months to me should be around $1,000 or somewhere in there, you know, 800 or 900. That's enough, because I think baseball is doing well. And to Councillor Flagler's point, there are other organizations in the community, you know, that need help. So I think that would be more than enough for the 2 months.
So until a new partner is chosen.
Okay.
How's that?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah. It'd be interesting to see it. It sounds funny, but the strike here, there's some, we got not as many cans going
I
into their,
Oh,
if you
yeah.
can't get them. So anyways, that's another story. I know mine aren't as full as they were last weekend.
It'll, don't worry, it'll pick up next weekend.
Yeah, yeah, right.
When it opens.
Right.
There'll be twice as many.
Okay.
Sorry, so we had a mover, same mover and second as before?
Yeah.
Or, okay. Deputy Mayor Webb, seconded by Councillor Jordan.
Okay, all in favor? Carried. Thank you. Okay. Okay, so we have 3 items there for information. Is there anything that anybody wishes to speak about for correspondence information? Item 1's Peterborough Public Health. The other one, well, both of them are Peterborough Public Health. Oh. So, updates.
It must not be busy these days.
I'll pass the motion to accept correspondence.
The correspondence, moved by Councillor Clements, seconded by Deputy Mayor Webb. All in favor? Carried. And committee liaison reports, we have there was no county meeting this month, so.
Yeah, there was, we had,
Okay.
so, and not too much from it. We had Richard Stiganga from Baker Tilly provide auditors reports, financial statements, excuse me, and the only thing of notice there really is the county purchased or approved the purchase of 4 new ambulances for a total of $994,000. So that's about it.
I have a question through to whoever would like to answer this. How did the hug and slug go at Cavan that the county had?
Kathy, when you
go?
It was excellent.
What session did you go to?
So I went to the afternoon. And so they had an introduction. I wish they had kept it in the big room because you had to sort of go out and through, but I talked to Public Works, I talked to some invasive species. I talked to Dr. Piggott. It was really good because you got to meet people. I talked to the lady who does the volunteer Peterborough. It was really good. It was an excellent. I'm glad I went. I really am glad I went.
That's the mayor from there to thank all the county council for letting the councilors know. It was well attended and well received. So
that was good.
Yeah.
But I missed the breakfast that you guys went to. And this to me was really good.
I was running late and ran into a storm and I had Crow Valley in the morning and I got into a storm at the coffee time and I ended up turning around coming home. I couldn't, first time I ever had to pull over like 4 times on the way back home. I think I was coming with the storm on the way home. So I didn't make it. I was on my way. So anyways.
I have a follow-up for the county thing. Last year, we were presented with a presentation for producer things for them to take over in January of this year. When the proposal from the county came to us, we had a choice to make by January 1st and we made it. But at that time, there was a question that it was asked and I believe answered that commercial, industrial and institution are on their own and they have to pay for it themselves. Was that not what we had recommended from here? Okay, well, if that's to the county people, is that agreed upon? Because the next part is that that's not the way it's done. That's not the way it happened.
So I'll look into that. I'm on waste management, so I should be able to look it up and answer you. I don't have the answer today. I wasn't aware it was coming, so I'll be glad to answer you.
Yeah, we weren't aware it changed, so I guess we're both on the wrong end of the communication.
It's a county thing, so I'll.
No, it's not a county thing. It is not, our recommendation is not a county thing. Our recommendation is to
It
have.
came from all of, it was right across the county, the
Yeah.
same recommendation, so I will get back to you with the answer.
Okay, so it affected our taxes, you know that.
It's gonna,
Well, I think we should have known about it when the change was made. It just it doesn't sit well with me that they arbitrarily make a change and we gotta wait till July to find out. If they make a change, you said.
it's still not settled yet, it's still not finished yet, there's still a lot on the go with this, it's taking a long time, because it's a big process to convert everything over. There's a lot on the go with this still, I have another meeting next week, 2 weeks. So.
I find it troubling, that's all. Anyway, any idea how many doctors the recruiters made? Because we're gonna have her come in August.
You can ask her then.
Oh, I guess so. Okay. And I understand there's a new economic development committee or something in the county?
Taking over for PCAD,
Sorry?
getting ahead of the thing for PCAD, because PCAD's dissolved at the end of the year.
Okay.
Okay,
Super.
any other? Okay, motion to receive the county report. Councillor, Deputy Mayor Webb, Councillor comment, all in favor? Carried. Okay, we have youth committee minutes there. Is there any questions for Councillor Flagler? If not, I'll look for motion to receive them. Motion by Councillor Clement, second by Councillor Doherty, all in favor? Carried. The next is the agenda for the agenda for the library board and minutes. Any questions? Motion to receive. All right.
Sorry, through you, Mayor Martin, the bench outside and the library book thing, you know, when you sit and you read a book. Is there gonna be kids' books in there?
There should be in there now. When I checked the other day, there was a couple, once they're gone.
Oh, they're gone.
They're gone.
Okay, so you are putting for children in there.
We're
Okay.
doing children, adults, and we're actually gonna kind of put a couple magazines in there too, if somebody just wants to take a look.
Yeah,
So,
okay.
yeah, but there was the other day, because I checked, and I thought, oh, when I checked, yeah, I thought, oh,
Yeah, it is. It
is
is.
it gone? Okay, I'll let them know. Thanks, Deb.
Yeah, no, that's no worries. Thank you.
Okay, so we receive the library report. Deputy Mayor Webb, second. Councillor Flagler, all in favor? And that's carried. Economic development, anything to add to that, Kurt?
Not really.
Okay, motion to receive. Councillor Flagler, Councillor Doherty, all in favor, and that's carried. Okay. And that's all we have for the liaison report. We'll go into other business. For the timeline for these town hall meetings, I haven't talked to the two councillors that were here. I don't know if these have come up with anything for a date or a time, but
Not that, no.
it will be sometime in August and we'll. Okay, so he's gonna let that out. I know he's were talking a different format and that's however you want to do it. That's great. Just let us know and go ahead.
One question, through you, Mayor Martin. Are these during the week or are they on weekends?
That's up to you guys. Whatever you want to do, either.
Okay,
Yeah, whatever works best for you guys.
all right.
All right. Next is the medical center proposal. Deputy Mayor.
Oh, yeah, so, yeah, no, I just put that on there. I was wondering if there's, like, sorry, I was just wondering if there's any news. The CEO, anything new had come out of this. I know that when Township of Norwood made their presentation, I don't know if they included a timeline, but it seemed like they were, looking to get moving on this quickly, so. And I guess they'll put that out to the rest of council if they've heard anything or have any comments in terms of moving forward.
So far, I haven't heard of any real support about paying per person. You know, you could be on a waiting list for years and we're paying. So far I haven't had any force.
What do you mean we're on a waiting list for years?
Well, say you go on this waiting list, right? The whole idea isn't it that we pay 100?
No, you pay when you get a doctor.
Oh, I misunderstood.
Yeah,
Okay.
no, you pay, and only the people, so if you wanted, or if I wanted a doctor, I would pay the 150. If you paid the doctor, you don't pay the 150. Right.
Don't remind me again.
If I pay the doctor, if I want a doctor, I'm paying a 150 fee.
Okay.
You pay for the doctor. Bob's still looking into the legality of this, but you don't have to pay.
Why would you pay and I don't?
Because I'm the one using the service. It'd be the same as me using the water here in town. Why, when I live at the lake, I don't pay a water bill? Because I use the service here in town. So I don't understand why the healthcare wouldn't be user paid the same way.
So Bob can clarify.
So just to clarify, through you, Mayor Martin, a few things. We did receive a delegation from the mayor and CAO of the Township of Asheville, Norwood. The proposal was, the request was $150 per rostered patient at the medical center in Norwood. That was the request that was made of council. And at that time, council determined that we would step back, get some feedback from the community and see what kind of response this was getting. And I don't know if council members have received any response on this. The presentation did go to Duro as well. The resolutions passed at Duro were twofold. One, to receive the delegation with thanks, and number two was to seek funds, but also to refer it to 2025 budget discussions for possible funding. That's all we know today.
Hey, Jerry?
The survey, which we changed and put the health question on it, ended yesterday. I know it's a little quick for numbers. Did we have any preliminary as to what the feedback was? That's number one question. Number two question is our recruiting scientist was doing a survey too, and she has some numbers on an ongoing basis. I wonder how many of those and how closely they mesh to the numbers, because we're not paying, we're not asked to pay for the people that are already on the roster. This would just be new ones, right? No, isn't that what
I think that's my understanding, but in terms of being 100% on that, I don't know.
Yeah, that was my understanding.
Things are changing
as well.
day by day.
But
Yeah, through you, Mayor Martin, to Councillor Doherty. I'm sorry, I haven't looked at the survey.
Today's 16th. What have you been doing, Bob?
I know, it's a little sleep at the switch there, but no, I don't have any preliminary numbers on the survey.
Well, I think we changed it to try and capture some information relative to this particular.
And with respect to how the survey with the doctor recruiter is going, we haven't seen a recent update on that. I expect we will see one before her presentation at our August meeting.
You said recently, have we got some before?
We had one a few months ago. There were numbers prior to the presentation from Norwood. I believe it was 300. Does that sound about right?
So Norwood used her numbers. That's like in the end, because they met at the same time in Duro. So, and I think that her numbers were higher than Norwood's numbers or something. So Pat said, I was talking to Pat about it, and he said their numbers were lower actually than what the Peterborough County numbers were. So he said he would be using their numbers or something in the future, but they're similar. They're similar.
So what do you mean? Duros are similar, or ours are similar, or the recruiters are similar to our survey?
The doctor recruiters numbers in the same presentation, they presented the same data in Duro Dummer, and Pat went after them, and he was happy that their numbers were close, but he thinks that the counties was a little higher actually than what they're using for people in this area. So
I think we put it on to get feedback internally. We spin in the rail, it's in our meetings on YouTube and in the survey. To be honest with you, I haven't heard anybody come up and say, well, that's a good idea. we're gonna get a doctor. And it seems to be such a high demand for it. Are they just just tired of asking and they aren't asking anymore? I don't know what anybody else's feedback is, Kathy said.
Politically, anybody I've talked to, like as far as surrounding communities, they think it's a slippery slope. Think it's kind of a weird ask. And it could be a problem in the future. If you're gonna use taxpayers' money for it, it might not be a good thing. There's different models that you're talking about, but I did write a letter to Dave Smith and I haven't got an answer back from him to ask him for advice if this is proper, if it's legal. Like I think Dave or Bob's actually asked our lawyer if this is allowed to be done. There's lots of rules around recruitment and so there's no
I guess I'd like to know what that slippery slope is.
Well, to start using taxpayers' money to pay for doctors. We don't do it like I have, well, people that go to North Kawartha to the doctor. And we're gonna pay North Kawartha. We have lots of people that go to Campbellford to the hospital or the doctor over there. Are we gonna start paying for there? And that's what they're saying. Is this setting a precedent that we're gonna start paying all the surrounding communities for their doctor? For our people. There's all kinds of models out there with like some provide housing for the doctors. There's those types of models that, you know.
And that's not using taxpayers.
Well, that's it. There is, that's what we're trying to.
Pretty slippery slope, I would think, if you're buying a doctor.
But they're doing it for their own community, to start paying for another community. You know, that was one of the things that came up. It's funny that the business plan didn't come out. This is the latest thing I heard. Why didn't they ask us before they did it? You know, but there's some things here that need to be clarified. So it's not worth jumping on, but it's something that it could come up as a budget item. There will be an opportunity, but right now we need a lot of answers on this and Bob's still waiting for some. I'm waiting for some. You know, I haven't heard any. Personally, politically, I haven't heard any support of this, but that's fine. That's there's, you know, maybe they're
I'm not sure what you mean by politically, you haven't heard.
From surrounding mayors and deputy mayors that I've talked to.
Well, they'd only be approved it though.
No.
Well, they're
looking at it, but they said even they're having a problem because they pay $10,000 a year for the Morton Center. They give them their taxes for free.
Understood.
So that's where they haven't supported it yet, but they're looking at it. It's just, that's a good motion to look at it. Bev?
Yes, to you, Mayor Martin. This is my personal opinion. My health card pays for my doctor. I don't pay another, like I will not go to the drugstore and they charge you $25 to go and talk to a doctor. According to the TV, they're not even supposed to be charging for a visit. So for Norwood to charge for that visit, it's just wrong. Everything's right on your health card. I'm already being taxed for it. So I'm not gonna get re-taxed and repaid for a doctor.
But that's not what we're saying. I'm not for this program if the money comes out of general taxation. But if it can be itemized to your bill, right? Just like a water bill.
I'm not being charged to go see a doctor.
No, you're not. That's
charged.
exactly what I'm saying.
Yeah.
If Jerry wants a doctor, he will pay for it. He will pay the $150 on his taxes. You won't pay anything.
Plus, I know, but if I want.
And why wouldn't you have that
doctor
service
now, I'm gonna be
available to you?
charged.
Why wouldn't you make that service available to your residents that don't have a doctor?
It's crazy to pay for a doctor.
Did
Like,
you listen to what I said?
I
I'm not
heard
paying
what
for a
you said.
doctor. The person that's using it is paying for the
I
doctor.
heard what you
The user
said.
fee.
Yes, and when I go
Okay.
into a hospital, I don't get charged for anything.
No, neither do I.
Okay, so again, if I go see Norwood's doctors, I shouldn't be charged for
exactly.
anything.
And if you want to drive to Peterborough to go see a doctor, that's what you'll continue to do. Some people need to go see a doctor
That's
2 or
right.
3 times a week.
But I'm not
Right.
charged $150
And it might be
for
more,
that doctor.
more advantageous for them to go see a doctor in Norwood and save maybe $100 in gas a week of driving to Peterborough 3 or 4 times a week. That's what's been portrayed to me at least, so.
So for
Are you saying you're gonna pay 100, like, I'm hearing the comment. We're not, like, the fee of 150 is a one-time annual thing, right? It's not every time you go to see the doctor.
No,
It's to help pay their $430,000 administration fee that the taxpayer in Norwood is paying for. And it's something they should have thought about before they come up with this format.
Well, it's nice to say, but I mean, we're sitting here trying to telling people we're gonna build a medical center, when it's, if we build a medical center, we're gonna be hiring set admin staff the same way they are, so, you know.
That's one of your models, and
It's
you're
six that work
slippery
slow,
slope.
doesn't any other.
Yeah, like that's the thing, like it's,
Do you have a better way of getting a
we
doctor
haven't had this
or?
discussion. We need to have this discussion with our community, is if that's
That's what we did. We just sent out a survey. We've sent out strategic.
we didn't give those details that they're paying for all the admin. A doctor gets paid to pay for admin staff out of that. And if he's getting that wage plus his admin paid for, he's got a sweet deal. So I'd like to know more on this thing, and I think that's something like we do with everyone. We need to understand where all of this money is going and what the doctors are getting over there, because
Well, I think what we need to have is a discussion about this is, we have 30-second or minute and a half discussions in our meetings. But we don't really have an in-depth discussion like we're having now is what we really need to have and get into the meat and bones of what's in this plan, what's it gonna cost, who's gonna pay for it, who does it benefit?
yeah, like the doctors, like we sold our medical center, which we were paying for the phone lines and all that stuff there. We weren't paying admin, they looked after their own admin. I think for future, maybe we need to have a meeting, a public meeting, not just a survey, a public meeting, invite people in, you know, go over some of these models. And if that's what people want us to do, we're here for the people.
Exactly, and that's what, I'm not, I don't want my position to be portrayed as though I'm looking to charge people to go to a doctor in Norwood, no. I would like, if possible, I still don't know if it's possible, Bob's looking into this though. If we went into something, if it could be itemized onto their taxes, whereby, just like the water, it would be a user pay. So if you wanted it, you could pay for the service and use it. That, to me, that would be a benefit to people who need that. If you don't need it, you don't like it, then you're not paying for it. It doesn't affect you in any way. I can't see,
so
to me, that's a no-lose situation. If you don't want it, you're not being charged for it, it doesn't affect you. The people that are using the system are paying for the system, and it provides them an extra service that as of now, they don't have. And I understand the part that being a municipality, we shouldn't even be in the healthcare business.
That's right.
Right? This shouldn't even be on the agenda.
We proved that. We sold the medical center.
Unfortunately, due to the incompetence of higher levels of government, here we are trying to solve their problem week after week. Okay?
Yeah.
So
maybe that's the thing that we need to do is, like you say, we've tried it through surveys and things like that, but we need to have all the details on the table. Because I know of other people that have been in here talking about medical center and things like that. They're probably gonna wanna have some say in this, so we have a public meeting that they can come out and like you say, instead of a minute and a half to talk about it. We set up a special meeting of council to talk about medical center, medical in general.
Yes.
And see where we're going here, because, you know, like.
we'll just feel it out because we
Yeah.
all have, exactly, we all have our own ideas and we all kind of
That's right.
discuss this, and it seems like even you and I from year to year might kind of, we shift, right? And we probably shift based on what we hear from the public. So let's get everybody here together. You know,
Yeah.
let them know what we're trying to accomplish, and hopefully we can get good feedback from them.
In my time here, I've been involved in a number of trying to recruit people to our medical center. And we've tried a lot of different things, whether it was paying for education for a couple of ladies to go through for their doctor's license. We've talked to several doctors and, you know, and they explained how their salary works and what that pays for. And, you know, it looks like a substantial amount, but out of that wage, they end up paying for admin and everything. The new model that's coming up through the county and the city, where the doctors are jumping on board with that, is they don't have to do any of that business stuff. They just get a flat rate and they can collect a pension because they don't have any admin stuff. And that's kind of what Norwood's model is there's no admin stuff. They just got free reign. So we need to, you know, see if we are working for the community, and that's where we need to have a meeting and let these people that you've had people in your office talking about the medical center, those people have an opportunity to come out here and see if maybe this is the way to go.
Maybe it's not. I'm not, I
So-
don't want it to seem like I'm some major proponent for what's going on there in Norwood. I just think, as I said,
Yeah.
the time frame for that opportunity, if we get involved, maybe we don't, is closing. So I just like us to kind of wrap our heads around and make sure that we're making the right decision, you know, in what we're doing here. Because I think that being summer and we got a lot of other sticks in the fire that sometimes this kind of gets put on the back burner, but it is a major issue.
Okay.
Through Mr. Mayor, I don't think we should be flogging the thing that we should have been involved in Norwood thing. That ship sailed. Now it's an opportunity, whether we want to latch on it or not. That's what it is. So bury this thing is, we weren't involved and we didn't do. I don't know where we were. I wasn't on council then, and the mayor's not there to testify either. But that's, to me, that's not even the point. Is do we want to or don't? And what we're saying is we need more information and public input.
So set something up in the future. I don't know when, like, you know, we come up with for the next meeting, a date that we could put together to have a public meeting with regards to healthcare. Does that work, Bob?
Well, through you, Mayor Martin, at the next meeting, we'll bring the results of the survey.
Yeah.
And I think that could be a good launching point for the discussion.
I should have just waited for that. Sorry, everybody.
Well, no, I agree with
that at the start.
Just wanted to see it go.
Yeah, exactly.
But it should be up because whether we're in or out, we should respond.
That's right.
That's all I agree with it being on, Martin, and I don't feel bad about having it on and having some discussion on it because the 30-second discussion just doesn't cut it.
I don't want council to think that I'm pushing that pro whatever, because I'm not. I still have tons of concerns and I'm not really for it, as I said, unless it can be separated out. If it's gonna go in and charge everybody through general taxation, I can't, to Councillor Flagler's point, I can't do that. So
let's just say we don't go and we decide we're gonna put money away for a medical center. We put $100,000 in a reserve annually for 10 years, we got $1 million, right? So that's gonna be a very small medical center.
So motion to, do we need a motion for that then, or just receive the discussion, or I don't think we need, there was no decision.
No, there's no
decision. Okay. So that's the committee liaison reports.
I thought we made a decision.
Sorry, other business.
I thought we did make a decision. We're going to have a public meeting.
After, we're gonna wait till after the survey results at the next meeting, and that's will be the launch for to see if we need it. That's what I got, so. Okay. Yeah. All right then, so next on the agenda is bylaws.
oh, we have other business. There's one other thing. I didn't even want to go down this route because I've already done this once. Just concerned about or ask, see, maybe first, we have a report coming to the next meeting about the ball diamonds.
We can.
Yeah, we'd request that in terms of, I'm sure the other members of council have received correspondence from baseball organizations in terms of what we're planning to do over there. So I would like to have a discussion about that at the next meeting.
Yeah, okay, we should, because that was only the facts, but the other ones they're excited about the diamonds, so the adult ones. So, okay. So, okay. The all right, so we're in bylaws. So first bylaw is 2024-052 to amend this is zoning bylaw amendment 2024-052. One we dealt with. Motion to move it. Moved by Councillor Clement, second Deputy Mayor Webb, all in favor. It's carried. Bylaw 2024-53, the Watkins Grant zoning bylaw amendment, moved by Deputy Mayor Webb, second by Councillor Doherty, all in favor. That's carried. 2024-054, shipping containers zoning bylaw amendment, moved by Deputy Mayor Webb, seconder, Councillor Clement, all in favor. That's carried. 2024-55-055, transfer these Canada Community Building Funds. The one that we talked about with moved by Councillor Flagler, yawning, and and Councillor Clement. All in favor? carried. And the bylaw 2024-056. Well, that's for to confirm the minutes. So that'll be later. So, okay. All right then. So we do have a closed session here. Then the closed session and then take a recess for 5. Okay, motion to go into close, moved by Councillor or Deputy Mayor Webb, seconded by Councillor Doherty. All in favor, carried.
Yes, we did. Yeah.
So we are back in open, and Bob had something that he forgot from the.
Sorry, one additional item that came in after the agenda was published, came in yesterday. It's a action correspondence item from the Belmont Lake Regatta and roadway closure. It's a request from the Belmont Lake Cottage Association. So request is the closure of Vital Memories Road at Belmont Lake Waterfront on Sunday, August the 4th, 2024 for the annual Belmont Lake Regatta event. So if there's any concern.
Did we do that last year too? Have we do it
have
every
done
year?
it before. It will be from 10 a.m. through 4 p.m.
Now with our new AMP program, though, we can make some money on this and just say no, and then when they all park there, we can make some money on it. So, no, okay.
So if there's a motion to approve that.
Very did, nice second.
Okay, thank you.
Moved in second.
All right.
Yeah, we are.
Because we were gonna have over by our next meeting, so.
All in favor? Carried. Okay, and just one thing just one thing I meant to tell you is this Saturday, if anybody's around, Pro Lake Water Association has their AGM at 9:30 in Marmara. So anyways, we're at 9:30 at the curling club. Well, it's at the arena.
Oh, that's where the curling club is.
I think so. So I think that's where it is. That's what I'm going.
I might go to that.
It's at the curling club, but I think it's at the, let's put it that way, find out, I don't want somebody going to the wrong place, but it's at 9:30. So, okay, so confirmed by moved by Carrie, second by Kathy. All in favor, carried, and motion to adjourn, moved by Hart, second by Deb. Oh, sure, all in favor, carried.